Chapter 1. Last night, it was your sister. Who wanted to come to the hotel? You were the one who took off your clothes, and you were the one who wouldn't let go of my hand. So, I was forced to do it. Yi Xian let out a cold breath as he looked at the stunning beauty still sleeping on the bed. On the bed lay an extremely hot beauty with a height of 1.7 meters and a pair of snow-white legs that dazzled the eyes. Yi Xian silently moved one of the woman's legs off his body, and there were more than a dozen used raincoats on the floor, also testifying to the fierce battle last night. More than 10 times in one night, no wonder his back aches. This beauty, she's using him like a donkey. Last night, as Yi Xian was just leaving Yunhai City Airport, a woman suddenly rushed up to him from the side of the road, grabbed him and wouldn't let go, mumbling, "Hurry, take me to the hospital." Yi Xian couldn't hear her clearly because Jiang Yurong had taken drugs and was drunk. "What? Take you to the hotel? Ah, quickly take me there." The drugs had taken effect and Jiang Yurong's consciousness was gradually becoming blurred. As soon as they entered the hotel, she began tearing off her clothes. Yi Xian quickly checked in and took Jiang Yurong to the hotel. As he was about to leave, a perfect and exquisite body was exposed in front of Yi Xian. Then something extremely embarrassing happened. Yi Xian was once the young master of the Yi family, a wealthy family in the capital. Later, his parents died in mysterious circumstances, and he was regarded as a jinx by the Yi family and was kicked out of the house. Later, Yi Xian was taken away by his master, the old ghost, and began the path of cultivation. After so many years, Yi Xian returned to China, not only to seek revenge and seek justice from the Yi family, but also to repay a favor for the old ghost and help the Chinese military protect a girl. Yi Xian had sworn that he would never get close to women until he had sought justice from the Yi family. However, reality is cruel. He doesn't get close to women, but women come looking for him. In bed, Jiang Yurong woke up from her sleep and saw a skinny young man with his shirt off. Then she saw a dozen raincoats on the floor, and Jiang Yurong was ready to kill. She had been slept with as a prostitute, and she had been fucked more than 10 times? More than 10 times in one night. What kind of animal is this? Ah! Animal. You shameless. No matter who you are, I'll make you rot in jail. Jiang Yurong looked at Yi Xian fiercely, angry and ashamed, ready to fight to the death with him. Just then, a scolding voice sounded outside the corridor. "Reporter Jiang, don't hide. You can't escape. We have people at the front and back doors of the hotel. Not even a fly can get away." 7 or 8 men in black appeared in the corridor. The scarred face at the front sneered, "Bitch, you drank the sleeping pills and are burning up, aren't you? Why don't you come out and let your brothers quench your thirst?" "Ha ha ha. We just got orders from above to silence her. A female reporter who dares to report us for drug trafficking is looking for death." The scarred face frowned, his gaze falling on the room at the end of the corridor. Suddenly, he snorted. "The hotel has surveillance cameras. She was on this floor last night. Search every room." Bang bang bang. The sound of heavy slamming echoed down the corridor. Yi Xian's mouth curved into a smile. "Beauty, are you the female reporter they want to catch?" "Well." Jiang Yurong didn't answer, her pretty face gradually turning red, her eyes once again becoming unfocused. Suddenly, she wrapped her arms around Yi Xian. "It's hot, so hot." Yi Xian was dumbfounded. He never expected that there was someone else outside when Jiang Yurong was about to fight. Feeling the scorching heat, Yi Xian yanked his hair with one hand and violently rolled over. Ow! Outside the corridor. "Boss, this is the only room that hasn't opened. Do you want to rush in and take a look?" A subordinate frowned. Scarface listened to the sounds coming from the room and sneered, "No need, the young couple is doing it early in the morning. I guess the female reporter has escaped. Let's go find somewhere else." After a full half hour, Jiang Yurong finally woke up as the effects of the medicine in her body wore off, and she immediately returned to her aloof goddess-like demeanor. She glanced at Yi Xian secretly, and thinking about what had just happened, she wanted to find a wall to die against. 14 times. What 14 times? What do you mean 14 times? Yi Xian said angrily, "You animal, scum, 14 times, how could you treat people like that?" Jiang Yurong. "Tell me, why are they after you?" "Because I'm a journalist investigating the case of the Longhu group using karaoke bars to sell drugs." Jiang Yurong said this while flashing her ID. Jiang Yurong, investigative reporter, Yunhai TV. Yi Xian then suddenly understood, and immediately gave a thumbs up, exclaiming, "I admire investigative journalists like you. I, Yi Xian, will never go along with gambling and drugs. Bah, last night your actions were no different from prostitution, and you're no better. Jiang Yurong became more and more angry as she thought about it. Don't frame me wrongly. Although I slept with you last night, I didn't pay you. Yi Xian's mouth corners twitched as he said with a face full of innocence, if I don't pay you, it doesn't count as prostitution. Ah. You're shameless. You've got no shame. Jiang Yurong covered her ears in anger and shame, her cheeks flushed with a light blush. She was wearing a low-cut blouse that revealed a large expanse of snow-white skin, and below that a pair of beautiful legs wrapped in black stockings, both charming and elegant. Yi Xian couldn't help but feel that this girl had a perfect figure, at least a G-cup. No wonder my kidney hurt this morning, it turned out that I had a big G-cup last night. Say, what do you want in compensation? To be honest, I still have some strength left. Yi Xian said. Jiang Yurong glared at him and at the same time pulled out a stack of bills from her purse and threw it at Yi Xian. You can keep this money, I hired you last night. After saying this, Jiang Yurong flicked her hair and turned around with a carefree air, leaving. Yi Xian picked up the money and counted it, angrily cursing, $36.50 in total, less than $2 at a time, damn it, do you think I'm a child's rocking horse to be rocked on? However, as Jiang Yurong opened the door to her room, she suddenly stopped in her tracks. Handsome guy, help! Jiang Yurong's trembling voice slowly sounded. Are you schizophrenic? After calling me a scoundrel, you're here to beg me? As soon as she finished speaking, several burly men dressed in black barged into the room in an aggressive manner. The man with the scarred face wore a sneer on his face. Ha, reporter Jiang really was hiding here. If I hadn't been on my guard, I would have really been fooled by you. They pretended to leave just now, but actually stayed outside the door, just waiting for Jiang Yurong to come out. Jiang Yurong backed away in fear and anger. You all heard that just now? Perverts. Your Longhu group, usury, drug trafficking, all kinds of evil, sooner or later, the police will round you all up. Ha, we couldn't hold back from listening just now. Reporter Jiang, you seem aloof, but I didn't expect you to be so promiscuous in bed. Don't just let this guy have his way. Let your brothers have a good time too. The crowd laughed evilly and pounced on her. Jiang Yurong was shocked and scared, her delicate body kept backing up, her pretty face full of fear. Chapter 2 Ye's family genius, who once amazed the capital. Nowhere to run. A man charged up with a sneer. Just as he reached out to grab Jiang Yurong, a flash of light appeared, and the man felt a piercing pain in his palm. Ah! Everyone turned their heads to look. Yi Xian stood in front of Jiang Yurong like a ghost, grabbed the other person's wrist, and snapped it directly. Damn! What a crazy bastard! The scarred face was taken by surprise. He never imagined that Yi Xian, who looked so clean-cut, would dare to step forward to save someone, and that he would do it so ruthlessly. I don't care who you are, get out of here right now, or I'll take you down too. When the Longhu group is doing business, anyone who gets in the way will die. Yi Xian sneered, the Longhu group, my ass. Get down on your knees, and I might consider leaving you in one piece. Upon hearing this, the scarred face's expression froze, and it felt as if his heart had been stabbed. Damn it! How dare this kid threaten them? How dare he pretend to be cool when he's about to die? Scarface was full of rage, his veins bulging, and he roared. Whoever kills this son of a bitch gets to be the first to screw this chick. Upon Scarface's order, the black-clad men's gazes all hotly swept towards Jiang Yurong. Their gazes were filled with the lust of beasts. Perfect figure. Beautiful face. It must be very exciting to play with her. It's over. Jiang Yurong's petite body trembled with fear. There were 7 or 8 people on the other side, and they had knives in their hands. There was no way she could escape. Close your eyes. What? Jiang Yurong froze for a moment. I told you to close your eyes. Yi Xian sneered, because the next scene would be very cruel. Although Jiang Yurong didn't understand what he was talking about, she still closed her eyes against her better judgment. Immediately, all kinds of harsh sounds rang in her ears. Screams of agony. The sound of bones snapping. The sound of a knife piercing muscle, tearing it apart. And the sound of begging for mercy. It was like being in the 18th level of hell in an instant. I don't know how long it took. It's settled. Yi Xian's voice finally came to Jiang Yurong's ears. Jiang Yurong slowly opened her eyes, and the next second, her body stiffened. The room was empty. None of the thugs with the scarred faces were there. There was only Yi Xian, who was using a mop to slowly mop up the blood on the floor. What just happened? Jiang Yurong asked with difficulty. I told them to kneel down and leave their bodies intact, but they didn't listen, so there was nothing I could do. Jiang Yurong was full of surprise. She had heard the sounds of the fight clearly, but Yi Xian had killed all those people in the blink of an eye? Impossible. It must be that something happened to Scarface and the others and they left. She just hadn't noticed that Yi Xian had been pouring something into the toilet, and it was broken human fingers. Big-breasted girl, you're so dumb, don't learn from others to be an undercover reporter. You'd be better off becoming a top hooker. I'm dumb? Do you take me for a 3-year-old? Jiang Yurong snorted. Big sister, you've developed so well, you're definitely not a 3-year-old. And don't call me big sister. Yi Xian said, but you're older than me, and you're also very big. Rascal. Jiang Yurong blushed. This brat is really bad to the core. The too big, he said, have different meanings. You can call me Yurong. No. Why? I'll think dirty thoughts. When I hear the word big, I'll imagine the other side. The provincial capital of Yunhai City. High-speed railway station. The local super first-class rich man, the person in charge of $100 billion fortune, Wang Tianba, respectfully stood at the exit. Next to him stood an exquisite beauty wearing a trench coat and black silk, with high heels on her feet, and hundreds of black-clad bodyguards. His expression was solemn. The scene was grand. Miaoyin, Yi Xiao has already come down the mountain. When you see him, you must take the initiative, and you must make sure that that demon can grace you with his presence, and it would be best if you got pregnant with his seed at once. Wang Miaoyin pursed her red lips. Uncle, you made me guard my body like jade since I was young, and it was for him? Was it necessary? Shut up. Wang Tianba shouted angrily, do you know who he is? He was once the Yi family's pride. His master is the master of Tianshan, who killed tens of thousands of people from the Japanese army. It is no exaggeration to say that as long as he is willing, he can destroy any force in Yunhai City with just a word. What? Upon hearing these words, Wang Miaoyin's delicate body trembled, and she immediately realized that she had said the wrong thing. She hurriedly said, don't worry, uncle, I will definitely take him down. After she finished speaking, Wang Miaoyin unbuttoned another button on her trench coat, revealing a large expanse of black silk. Reporter Jiang, your legs are so long and white, it's a waste not to wear black silk. At the entrance of the hotel, Yi Xian stared at Jiang Yurong's pair of jade legs and praised. Get out of here. I'll gouge your eyes out if you look at me again. Jiang Yurong glared at him angrily, got into a taxi and said, get lost. See you again. Never again. Yi Xian waved his hand, saw Jiang Yurong leave, and went to a spicy hot pot restaurant. He pointed at the supreme combo on the wall and asked, boss, how much is the spicy hot pot combo? 37. Yi Xian, who had 36.50 yuan in his pocket, couldn't help but curse under his breath. He had worked hard all night, but he couldn't even afford a meal of spicy hot pot. If this gets out, he really won't be able to face it in Huaxia. Yi Qijian, the #1 tough guy in Tianshan prison, has actually been reduced to a slave, working hard all night to earn a measly 36.50 yuan. Yi Xian can't help but feel, the women down the mountain are tigers, eating people without spitting out their bones. I still want to go back to Tianshan prison. Rumor has it that there is a prison in Tianshan that holds the world's most vicious criminals. Just drag out one person, and they will have hundreds of lives on their backs. Even the world's top 10 most wanted criminals are just at the bottom here. But who would have thought that this prison, which holds the world's most terrifying prisoners, was actually built for just one person? A week ago, a car with a red flag arrived at Tianshan prison. #1 came in person, just to beg Yi Qijian to be released from prison. You can go back, I have done enough for China, I don't owe you anything. Yi Xian waved his hand. The old man looked pleading, Yi Xiao, you are the only one who can do this. This is also your master's wish. You mean that old ghost? He tricked me into going to Japan to see the cherry blossoms, but in reality, he was after some ancient martial arts technique. He stole the technique and disappeared without a trace, but he got me killed 7 times in Japan. I won't help this old dog with his business. Yi Xiao, look at this. The old man respectfully handed over a tattered book with the 5 characters, 9 Heaven Star technique, written on the cover. Seeing this tattered book, Yi Xian obviously hesitated for a moment. After taking a deep breath, "My master has treated me with great kindness, and we are like father and son. His business is my business. I'll take the book." Yi Xian accepted the technique and said indifferently, "What do you want me to do?" "Protect a woman. I only kill people, not save them." Her name is Su Kexin, 18 years old, the university's flower girl, 1.7 meters tall, weighing 45 kilograms, and an e-cup. "When the country is in trouble, I will not shirk my duty," Yi Xian said resolutely, then looked at the old man and said, "Tell me what you can offer in return." The old man took a deep breath and said solemnly, "If you want to find out the truth about 20 years ago, Huaxiao will never stand in your way. If you want to take revenge on the Yi family, Huaxiao will never interfere. It's all up to you. Remember your promise." Yi Xian coldly said, turned around and left. A roar sounded from Tianshan prison. "Congratulations on Yi Xiao's release from prison." As he watched his figure disappear, the middle-aged man with a shoulder-borne general star on his shoulder couldn't help but frown. "Number one, who exactly is he? Do you still remember that Yi family genius who once amazed the capital?" Chapter 3, Boss, put in more kidneys. The middle-aged general was shocked and blurted out, "It's him? The Yi family's unlucky star, he's still alive." 20 years ago, the Yi family, a powerful family in the capital, gave birth to a grandson. On the day of his birth, his parents died in mysterious circumstances, and all the plants in the Yi family's manor withered overnight. The Yi family invited 1,000 high priests to set up an altar and perform rituals for 49 days. The first 48 days passed without incident. On the 49th day, the baby in the swaddling clothes cried out, and the 1,000 monks vomited blood and fell to the ground. When he was a teenager, he was amazing in both literature and martial arts, stunning the capital. But he was considered a jinx, and everyone avoided him. Until one day, he vanished from the world, and there was no news of him again. The Yi family was in internal strife, with many forces coveting the position of his eldest grandson. Old Master Yi couldn't bear to see it, and sent him to live in Yunhai city. Before he died, Ye's grandfather entrusted the old ghost with taking Yi away and making him his disciple. Once the tyrant unsheathed his sword, it was another 10 years of disaster for the common people. "Boss, put in more kidneys." Yi Xian shouted at the boss, who was busy in the kitchen of the Malatangmian, spicy hot and numbing, restaurant. "Brother, can you handle eating so many kidneys? Damn, the female customers were a bit fierce last night, and it was a tough battle." Yi Xian cursed. In a moment, the steaming hot and spicy soup was served. Yi Xian ate while dialing a long-lost phone number. In front of the hot and spicy soup restaurant, a black car pulled up. The door opened and a stunning beauty walked towards Yi Xian. The woman was wearing a small white shirt that highlighted her upper body's graceful curves. Her towering peaks complemented her tall figure, and the tight jeans clung to her round and slender legs, which were almost enough to kill a person. "Senny, I'm home." Yi Xian waved with a smile. "Where have you been all these years, you rascal? You've had me worried sick." Gu Xini, with her long, slender legs, gave Yi Xian a few hard slaps, her eyes brimming with tears. "It's nothing, just that I've traveled all over the world." Yi Xian only said half of it, and the other half was that while he was traveling all over the world, he also killed a lot of people. Gu Xini didn't say anything, but gently held Yi Xian's hand, her gaze a little distressed. Feeling the warmth coming from his hand, Yi Xian's mouth curled up into a smile. Although he and Xini didn't have any blood relationship, she was the person he was closest to in this world besides his grandfather. In fact, Gu Xini was just an abandoned infant that Ye's grandfather had picked up back then, 5 years older than Yi Xian. Later, when Yi Xian left the capital, Gu Xini took care of him like a real sister, and the two had a very deep relationship. If those top overseas experts saw this scene, they would probably be so shocked that they would pop out of their skin. Yi Qijian, who was known for his merciless killing, would actually be so gentle with a woman? Half an hour later, the car stopped in front of a quaint Chinese-style courtyard. This was a Chinese-style courtyard with 3 entrances and 3 exits, covering a large area. Various flowers were planted in the courtyard, all beautiful and colorful, and it was clear that they had been carefully arranged. "Hey! Why are there other women's underwear drying at home?" Yi Xian couldn't help but look at Gu Xini with confusion when he saw the A-cup underwear drying in the courtyard, and his gaze quickly swept over her breasts. "This size doesn't match." "I forgot to tell you, I rented out the house," Gu Xini laughed. Yi Xian said, "That's good, it's too lonely for one person to live in such a big house, and it'll be lively with a few more people." I guess there are 2 female tenants in the house, right? How did you know? Gu Sini was stunned for a moment. Obviously he was right. A, D, and G, Yi Xian said with a meaningful smile. What is this? Nothing, just an esports club. Isn't it EDG? Gu Sini asked, puzzled. Yi Xian was speechless. Since when did girls care about esports? By the way, are the 2 female tenants pretty? Yi Xian blinked. Gu Sini smiled and whispered, one is a little nurse named Zhao Xiaoye. She is pretty and obedient, but she has been studying away from home these days. The other one is. Before she could finish speaking, Gu Sini's phone suddenly rang. Yi Xian, you go clean up first, I'll make you something delicious after I'm done. Yi Xian walked into the bathroom, planning to take a shower first. After a while, the sound of rushing water could be heard in the bathroom. At this time, a beautiful figure walked into the courtyard, and it was Jiang Yurong. Hearing the sound of water coming from the bathroom, Jiang Yurong stopped in her tracks. Could it be that the young nurse Xiao Xiaoye had returned? With a mischievous smile on her lips, she suddenly opened the bathroom door. Which little cutie is taking a bath in there? Hey, come on in and let your big sis feel you up. But as soon as she entered, she screamed directly, ah. Jiang Yurong was dumbfounded, and she never imagined that Yi Xian was naked in the bathroom, especially Yi Xian's certain place, which was extremely eye-catching. Chapter 4, As long as I want, the whole of China is mine. Why is it you? Why aren't you wearing any clothes? Nonsense, why would I wear clothes when I'm taking a shower? Yi Xian shouted, clutching the towel. Jiang Yurong was obviously shocked by Yi Xian's private parts, and she was stunned for 2 seconds before she came back to her senses. Her face flushed, and she was furious, you rascal. What are you doing here? This guy, shamelessly, came over to bother her. Hearing this, Yi Xian's eyes went dark, and he couldn't help but say, you hussy, what are you talking about? Listen up, I'm the owner here. Ha? Jiang Yurong's pretty face turned red. You brat are still playing the alphabet game, aren't you? Do you really think she doesn't understand? Jiang Yurong huffed, I'm still your master, you brat. It's so hard to talk to you. You must have your brain in your chest. Yi Xian shrugged, holding a bath towel in one hand and his phone in the other, scrolling through the chat history. He looked at the screen for a long time, and Jiang Yurong's pretty face gradually grew stiff. She remembered that Gu Sini had said that she was going to pick up her brother and take him home today, and had also invited her to have dinner together later. So this guy turned out to be her landlord. This is so embarrassing. Just then, the footsteps of Gu Sini approaching from outside the bathroom could be heard. Yi Xian, who are you talking to? Bang! Jiang Yurong hurriedly closed the bathroom door, and as the bathroom was relatively small, she could only stand close to Yi Xian. Suddenly, Jiang Yurong's whole body trembled as if she had been electrocuted. She looked at Yi Xian behind her, and when she glanced down, she was suddenly both ashamed and angry. Yi Xian shrugged helplessly. The younger brother listens to the tune, not the announcement. He didn't mean it. Gu Sini walked out of the bathroom and smiled. The other female tenant is back. Her name is Jiang Yurong. She is a TV reporter, gentle in character, and delicate in mind. You should get to know her better. Jiang Yurong. Gentle in character? Delicate in mind? Yi Xian sneered with disdain, I don't like women with big breasts and no brains. There was a short silence outside the door, followed by the puzzled voice of Gu Sini. How do you know she has big breasts? Yi Xian said indifferently, the sea contains hundreds of rivers, and tolerance is great. The name Jiang Yurong sounds like she has a great figure. After a stunned pause of 2 seconds, Gu Sini nodded blankly. This kid seems to be talking nonsense, but it seems to make a lot of sense. At noon, Gu Sini made a table full of delicious food. How does it taste? Gu Sini looked at Yi Xian and Jiang Yurong with a smile. The atmosphere between the two was extremely strange, as neither looked at the other. Gu Sini pursed her red lips. These two had just met for the first time, so they couldn't have fallen for each other already, could they? After lunch, Gu Sini helped Yi Xian prepare supplies for university life. What do you think of Yurong? Gu Sini asked with a gentle smile. She's quite nice. Yi Xian said nonchalantly, except that she's too old. Too big? Do you think Jiang Yurong is old? No wonder, guys usually like girls younger than them. Yi Xian, you don't think you're old too, do you? Gu Xini was stunned for a moment, and her expression was a little unnatural as she smiled. I know a little beauty called Lin Wan'er, a student at Yunhai University. Right, she is pure and innocent, and more importantly, she is still single and has never had a boyfriend. Gu Xini pushed the contact information to Yi Xian. Yi Xian's eyes lit up. After adding the contact, he didn't rush to chat, but first opened his circle of friends to flip through the photos. Unfortunately, Lin Wan'er's circle of friends was set to be visible for 3 days, and all he could see was a message that a birthday party was being held at the Night Charm Bar tonight. Night falls. Yunhai City, Night Charm Bar. The deafening DJ, beautiful women shaking their bodies recklessly, and the smell of hormones everywhere. As soon as Yi Xian walked to the entrance of the bar, the marketing manager quickly came over. Brother, would you like a booth? The marketing manager came over excitedly, with a wicked smile on his face. We have no shortage of beautiful women in our bar. Book a booth and the young lady with the long black legs will sit in your arms of her own accord. The marketing manager's eyes suddenly lit up, and he pointed, look. That's Lin Wan'er, the Lin family's only daughter and a famous beauty in Yunhai City. She's a regular here. Lin Wan'er? Sister's best friend? Yi Xian looked around and saw a tall and beautiful figure dancing energetically in the center of the dance floor. She was wearing a see-through top and hot pants that showed off her long, slender legs, and her long hair was falling down like a waterfall. With the help of the alcohol, Lin Wan'er twisted her waist recklessly, writhing like a water snake. Her movements became more and more daring, and the range of motion became more and more hot, attracting countless male beasts in the audience to scream. Yi Xian remembered what Gu Xini had said. Her best friend. Pure and innocent. Simple and naive. Is this it? How about the guy, is he horny? The marketing manager's smile fell off. Just then, a young man dressed fashionably and with a stern expression, surrounded by several black-clad bodyguards, walked over and shouted, "Turn off the music." As soon as the young man spoke, the sound engineer didn't dare to release a fart and immediately turned off the music. The men and women on the dance floor stopped moving at the same time and turned their heads to look. It was Sun Jie. Sun Jie was powerful and influential, and Lin Wan'er was going to suffer. Sun Jie walked up to Lin Wan'er, slammed his hand on the table, and yelled. Lin Wan'er, I've been chasing after you for so long, and you don't even fucking respond to me? Do you not take me seriously? You change women more often than you change clothes, and I don't want to go out with you, I'm afraid I'll catch a disease. Lin Wan'er snorted, showing no sign of hiding her contempt for Sun Jie. Lin Wan'er, you're not giving me face? Sun Jie's face immediately fell. I never liked you anyway. Besides, I already have a boyfriend. Lin Wan'er said. Bullshit. As long as Ben Xiao is around, who would dare to go out with you if they didn't want to die? Sun Jie sneered, and since today is your birthday, and since you have a boyfriend, then let him step forward. Lin Wan'er's pretty face gradually grew ugly. She doesn't have a boyfriend. She just made that up. If her boyfriend doesn't come forward, Sun Jie will definitely not let her off the hook. It's over. Just then, she suddenly looked at the crowd, grabbed Yi Xian by the arm, blushed, and said, Sun Jie, this is the boyfriend I just made. Countless gazes fell on Yi Xian. This guy is actually Lin Wan'er's boyfriend? Not only is he average looking, but he is also wearing sportswear, and is just an ordinary loser, completely unsuited to a lady like Lin Wan'er, who is a billionaire's daughter. Yi Xian glanced at Lin Wan'er. Bitch. Using me as a shield, is that it? Yi Xian put his arm around Lin Wan'er, looked at Sun Jie, and said in a shocking voice, yes. I am her new boyfriend. And, I might as well tell you all, I have already slept with her. Oh yeah, I didn't wear a condom. Holy shit. The whole audience was shocked. This guy really has some nerve. Even Lin Wan'er was so shocked that her whole body trembled. Dude, are you serious? Sun Jie was thunderstruck. What did you say? You slept with her? And you didn't wear a condom? Yeah, and you still want to go after her? You can have her. Maybe your son is even my child. Yi Xian said this with a straight face. Son of a bitch. How dare you sleep with the woman I like? I'll kill you. Sun Jie was even more furious, and swung his fist and was about to smash it on Yi Xian. Yi Xian looked calm and said, Sun Xiao, why are you so agitated? I only slept with the woman you like, not your mother. Look at the way you dress, all your clothes add up to only a few $100, you're a loser. Can you support Lin Wan'er? Sun Jie said viciously. Yi Xian said with a carefree expression on his face, although I dress in a modest manner, it is no exaggeration to say that my assets are more than 10 Sun families combined. The powerful people under my command can flatten Yun province in minutes. With just a word from me, I can make the richest man in Yunhai city come to me to serve tea and water. It's not difficult to give Lin Wan'er happiness, is it? Ha ha ha. Upon hearing this, the entire audience burst into laughter, and everyone was laughing so hard that tears were streaming down their faces. You're still the best when it comes to bragging. Why didn't you say that the whole of China is yours? Yi Xian said with a serious face, as long as I want it, the whole of China can be mine. Chapter 5, So Fierce and Powerful. Shut up. Lin Wan'er felt that Yi Xian had gone too far, her cheeks were red, and she whispered, I'm afraid you don't even know who the richest man in Yunhai city is. Yi Xian said calmly, isn't it Wang Tianba of Shenyuan group? I'm telling the truth. If you don't believe me, you can call Wang Tianba right now. Kid, if you keep talking nonsense, I'll kill you. Sun Jie was filled with hatred, and he wanted to rush over and kill Yi Xian. Is that what you're angry about? Yi Xian raised an eyebrow and revealed a cunning sneer. How about this? Ha! Sun Jie's face paled, and when he saw the scene in front of him, his mind suddenly broke down. Damn it! This guy! How dare he rest his head in the bosom of his beloved goddess Lin Wan'er? And he's so close to her breasts? You have to know that for so long, he hasn't even touched Lin Wan'er's fingers. Not to mention that this kid is just a poor loser. He really deserves to die. Sun Jie's mind exploded, and he yelled hysterically, son of a bitch. Move your head away right now. Otherwise, I will make you die a miserable death. Yi Xian, however, shrugged and sneered, if I move my head away just because you tell me to, then I will lose face, won't I? I want to see how miserable a death you can make me die. After saying that, Yi Xian raised his eyebrows and directly squeezed Lin Wan'er's buttock behind her from somewhere. Ah! What are you doing? Lin Wan'er felt an electric shock behind her, her delicate body trembled instantly, and her pretty face turned red. You little bastard! How dare you touch my woman's ass? I'll fucking kill you! Sun Jie roared in anger, his anger boiling over, and he roared and charged over, aiming at Yi Xian and punching him hard. Lin Wan'er suddenly felt a shock in her heart, be careful. He has a black belt in Taekwondo. And a 9th degree black belt in karate. However, karate 9th dan? Taekwondo black belt? Is that all? Yi Xian smiled contemptuously, and there was even a hint of disappointment in his eyes. At the moment Sun Jie's fist came crashing down, Yi Xian suddenly kicked out, but he was faster than expected, and his kick landed squarely on Sun Jie's stomach. Sun Jie vomited a mouthful of turbid liquid on the spot, fell to the ground, and screamed in pain, ah! Holy shit! Lin Wan'er was dumbfounded. Although Sun Jie was a playboy, he had really practiced martial arts since childhood and was a genuine black belt in Taekwondo and 9th degree black belt in karate. Yet he was kicked away by Yi Xian with one kick. Could it be that this scumbag was several times more powerful than Sun Jie? Mr. Sun. Seeing this, the suit-clad bodyguard behind him rushed forward and helped Sun Jie up, angrily shouting. You little brat, do you even know who Mr. Sun is? Do you know that you are looking for death? Yi Xian, however, shrugged his shoulders and said nonchalantly, I don't care who he is. Whoever dares to touch me will be dead. I didn't kill him just now with one kick, it's all because of my wife. Damn it! He's so overbearing. So arrogant. The crowd couldn't imagine that this kid could be so arrogant. What exactly is his source of confidence? Little brat. I'm going to kill you. Somebody. Beat him up for me. Sun Jie roared. 7 or 8 bar security guards picked up iron bars and smashed them at Yi Xian. Sun Jie smirked, taunting, country bumpkin, don't you know what's going on? There are so many of us, we can send you to hell in no time. Ha ha. Bang. But as soon as the words fell, Yi Xian rushed over in one stride and kicked him with all his strength. With a loud bang, Sun Jie was kicked flying, crashing to the ground, nose bleeding profusely, and let out a scream of pain, ah. Suddenly, the whole crowd was stunned. What's going on? This guy, he really dared to lay a hand on Sun Xiao? On the grounds of Yunhai City, there's still someone who dares to lay a hand on Sun Jie. Just then, a siren sounded outside. The police are here. The crowd immediately dispersed. Very good, you have some balls. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Sun Jie said viciously, since you were looking for death, don't blame me for being rude. I will definitely find you and beat you to death. You brought this all on yourself. After leaving the bar, Yi Xian found a corner and opened the floodgates. He had just drunk quite a bit in the bar and was still a bit full. Lin Wan'er blushed with shame. This scoundrel really took her for his wife. He didn't even try to avoid suspicion. After releasing the water, Yi Xian let out a comfortable breath and turned to Lin Wan'er. Say it, I helped you, how are you going to compensate me? Lin Wan'er was stunned for a moment, her face gradually turning red, and she said with some embarrassment, Big brother, I haven't had a boyfriend yet, can you let me off? Besides, there are a lot of people here. Wait. First, explain what you mean by there are a lot of people here. Yi Xian looked displeased. He hadn't said anything yet. What kind of person does this girl take him for? He, Yi Qijian, is not a lecherous person. Don't tell me you want to do that to me? Lin Wan'er's voice grew smaller and smaller, her face full of shyness. In her opinion, Yi Xian had risked his life to come to her aid, and it must be because of her charming allure. Lin Wan'er believed that a beautiful woman like herself, who was enchanting and charming. It was only reasonable for Yi Xian to have those thoughts about her. Who has those thoughts about you? Yi Xian glanced at the girl's flat chest and shook his head listlessly. Lin Wan'er frowned, stop pretending not to care. Men are all hypocrites, I don't believe it. Then explain why you helped me. Yi Xian was taken aback, did you think it was for you? Ha? Lin Wan'er froze, and upon hearing this answer, she felt a hint of loss. Does it mean that in front of this bumpkin, I am not attractive at all? Lin Wan'er pointed at her long, snow-white legs and patted them, saying, come, look at these legs. White. White. Then she revealed her fragrant shoulders, shook them, and said, come, look at these shoulders, are they smooth? Smooth. Then she pointed at her face and pinched it, saying, look at this face, isn't it beautiful? Beautiful. Yi Xian sighed, unfortunately, you're a flat chest. Lin Wan'er was dumbfounded, and then, in a fit of anger, she said, I give up, you really are something. You're not even good enough to be a wife, let alone 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 a wife, let alone. Lin Wan'er. You brat, don't think that just because you saved me, I won't beat you up. You're asking for it. After saying that, Lin Wan'er swung her fists and charged at Yi Xian, but in a moment she realized that she was no match for Yi Xian at all. In the end, Yi Xian pinned her down and gave her a severe spanking. Feeling the burning sensation, Lin Wan'er could only beg, brother, don't hit me anymore, I'll be your maid, okay? Chapter 6 Because you have offended someone who can never be offended. Fine, since you are going to be my little maid, in the future, you will take attendance for me in class and do my homework for me, got it? Yi Xian said with a dismissive wave of his hand. What? Big brother, are you also a university student? Lin Wan'er was stunned. I'm curious, you look like a seasoned socialite, how did you come up with the idea of going to university? Yi Xian said with a sincere face, everyone says college life is great, but I've never been to college, so I want to experience it. Lin Wan'er flicked her long hair and reminisced with a face full of memories. Hey, college life is just a so-so. I'm in the best position to say that. High school life was the worst. Junior high school life was the best. Elementary school. Yi Xian quickly covered her mouth. Stop, if you say any more, it'll be illegal. Illegal? Lin Wan'er felt something was wrong as she continued talking, and looking at Yi Xian's mischievous smile, she finally realized what was going on and swung a little pink fist at him. At the same time, Jiang Yurong rode a small electric moped past the alley. She had received information that there were those kinds of bad deals at the night charm bar, and that at night there were many heavily made-up women standing in the backstreet of the bar soliciting customers. So she, as an investigative journalist, came to uncover clues. However, she didn't expect that as soon as she parked at the end of the alley, she saw Yi Xian messing around with a hot-looking woman, and Yi Xian was even spanking the woman's bottom. Bye-bye, maid. See you tomorrow, master. After saying goodbye to the girl, Yi Xian whistled as he walked towards the end of the alley. Hey, isn't this reporter Jiang? What are you doing here at this hour, on a date? Yi Xian recognized the beautiful woman in front of him as Jiang Yurong at a glance, so he waved his arm to say hello. Jiang Yurong froze for a moment. To ensure that she would not be discovered during her visit, she had deliberately changed into a black jacket and put on a helmet. Moreover, it was nighttime, and there was not even a street lamp. How did this guy recognize her at first glance? Before she could react, Yi Xian had already walked over and directly sat on the back seat of the small electric moped, wrapping his arms around Jiang Yurong's slender waist from behind. This figure is really amazing. No wonder men like to drive big cars. What are you doing? Jiang Yurong was startled. Of course I want you to drive me home. Yi Xian said with a sneer, I have to report to university in the morning. You still remember that you are a university student? Jiang Yurong snorted and advised, in the future, don't do this kind of illegal thing. For the sake of Sister Cindy, I won't report you this time. But if I see it again, you'll be arrested. Yi Xian froze. You saw it? Jiang Yurong's heart trembled. She had just tried to trick the boy, but she never expected him to confess. Yi Xian, you really have some nerve, running out at night to do something like this. Humph. Jiang Yurong glared at him, holding back her anger. I advise you to be more careful with your personal life. It's easy to get sick if you play with women at a young age. When did I play with women? Then what about the girl you were just with? Jiang Yurong asked. She's Lin Wan'er, a classmate from college. Gu Sini introduced us. It's her birthday tonight. I came to wish her a happy birthday. What's wrong? Oh, is that so? Jiang Yurong was momentarily at a loss for words, and the atmosphere gradually became awkward. You don't think I'm picking up a hooker, do you? Yi Xian suddenly spoke up. If that's the case, I'll go find Gu Sini and Lin Wan'er right now and let them help prove my innocence. Don't. Jiang Yurong quickly stopped him. You don't want me to tell them, fine, unless Yi Xian sneered. Jiang Yurong froze for a moment, quickly shielding the headlights of the Deji, and nervously said, What do you want? You can't touch me. If not with your hands, then with your mouth, right? The next second, Jiang Yurong felt someone kiss her on the cheek. Ah! Jiang Yurong let out a scream, gritted her teeth, and looked up. We're even now. Yi Xian slipped away faster than a rabbit. You scoundrel! Jiang Yurong touched her moist cheeks. She felt a tingling sensation inside, flushed with anger, and stormed into the room, slamming the door behind her. After a while, a colleague in the work group sent a message saying that someone had caused trouble at the night charm bar tonight. A rich second generation had bullied a girl, but fortunately, a boy had come forward to do the right thing and save the girl. Jiang Yurong opened the live video and was taken aback. The person who had acted courageously was Yi Xian. It seems that she really had wrongly accused him. Jiang Yurong was more curious about Yi Xian. There must be a secret about this guy. On the other side. At the night charm bar. More than 10 bar security guards, all with bruises and battered faces, gathered together in a pitiful state, talking about what had just happened. Damn it! If the police hadn't arrived, I would have killed that kid. He even dared to mess with Sun Xiao. He really doesn't want to live anymore. Don't worry, if he messes with Sun Xiao, he won't even know how he died. Suddenly, an extremely angry, murderous yell sounded. Someone tell me, what the hell is going on tonight? Everyone turned around and saw a Rolls-Royce parked in the doorway. The middle-aged man who got out of the car had an extraordinary air of power, walking with a long stride, and it was obvious that he was a real big shot. Moreover, there were several black-clad bodyguards behind him, all of them top-notch experts. The aura of these people is many times stronger than that of the dozen or so bar security guards. What? It's Wang Tianba. Wang Tianba of the Shenyuan group? The dozen or so bar security guards were terrified and quickly got up, bowing respectfully to Wang Tianba and saying, Greetings, President Wang. You have to understand that Wang Tianba is one of the 3 major tycoons of Yunhai city. He is even a well-known presence throughout the entire province of Yun. And Sun Jie's father is also one of the 3 major tycoons of Yunhai city. Could it be that Wang Tianba heard that Sun Jie was being bullied and came to stand up for him? Mr. Wang, the troublemaker has already left, and so has Sun Xiao. The bar owner hurriedly came out to receive them himself, taking credit as he laughed. Sun Xiao is a valued customer of the bar, and that bumpkin didn't know when he was beaten, so he helped Sun Xiao teach him a lesson. But Wang Tianba's face turned ashen. Yi Xiao. I'm sorry. It's all our fault for coming a step too late. Wang Tianba glanced at the bar owner and suddenly yelled, "You really have some nerve. Guys, go in and trash the place. And all these security guards, beat the hell out of them. Bunch of blind things. Starting today, this bar is closed." The bar owner was so scared that he fell to the ground in a panic. "Mr. Wang, why?" Wang Tianba was full of murderous intent and said word by word, "Because you have offended someone you can never offend." Chapter 7, The Female Teacher is Actually a Heavenly Beauty. Early the next morning, Yi Xian got up early as usual. As soon as he left his room, he saw Jiang Yurong standing on the yoga mat with bare feet, her hands held together in prayer and raised high, doing yoga poses. Her curvy figure was wrapped in black tights. From her proud peaks to her slender waist, from her smooth back to her slender legs, she was full of the mature and curvy beauty of a woman. At this moment, Jiang Yurong's body began to sway, as if she could not maintain her balance. Yi Xian came over seriously and pointed out, "Lift your butt. Shift your weight back. This is the only way to maintain your balance." Jiang Yurong tried it according to his instructions, lifted her butt, and indeed found her balance. She was overjoyed, but when she turned her head, she saw Yi Xian with a wicked smile on his face, staring at her from behind, as if he were intently watching a show. Jiang Yurong was suddenly angry and ashamed, and she was about to throw a punch at Yi Xian. At that moment, Gu Sini's voice sounded from the front yard. "Yurong, is this your electric car? Why is it like this?" "Humph." Jiang Yurong glared at Yi Xian, walked to the front yard, and was dumbfounded. She saw that her little electric car had a golden Pikachu sticker on it, which looked stupid and cute. Jiang Yurong's face turned cold. "Who did this?" "I did," Yi Xian laughed. "I'll ride it for a few days before school." "Who said you could ride it?" "Hey, I saved you once, what's wrong with lending you the scooter for a few days? Besides, you still owe me a favor from last night." "What favor?" "I don't remember." Jiang Yurong pouted. "Yurong, you've gone bad. You're being a scoundrel." Yi Xian shook his head helplessly and said, "How about I waive your rent for a month?" 2 months. "Woman, you're bad enough," Yi Xian said with a heartbroken expression. "I learned it from you." Jiang Yurong snorted. "This little electric car only costs a little over 2,000, and the monthly rent is over 2,000 as well. A second-hand electric car offsets 2 months' rent, and she still makes a profit." Yi Xiao. As soon as he left the house, a black car pulled up to the curb, and a middle-aged man with gray hair got out. The man was Yunhai, the president of Yunhai University. 2 years ago, he went abroad to attend an academic conference, and encountered a local military coup. In the end, thanks to Yi Xian's intervention, he was able to save his life. He will never forget how terrifying the name Yi Qijian is. "Zhang, I'm going to rely on you to protect me from now on." Yi Xian patted President Zhang on the shoulder. President Zhang Yunhai looked flattered and quickly said respectfully, "I dare not. I'm honored that Mr. Yi can come to our school. I've specially come to pick you up and take you to the school today." "No need, I have a car." Yi Xian patted the small electric car and said with a smile, "Zhang, my identity cannot be revealed, so just treat me as an ordinary student." "Okay, I'll do whatever you say." Zhang Yunhai nodded quickly, although he didn't know Yi Xian's intentions, but how could a small person like him guess the thoughts of such a big shot? In no time at all, Yi Xian drove his little electric car into Yunhai University. Looking at all the beautiful young women, he felt full of energy and really wanted to experience university life for himself. The little electric car with the yellow Pikachu sticker on it immediately attracted the attention of the students. Really, the car was so eye-catching that it was hard for a guy riding a little electric car with a Pikachu sticker on it not to attract attention. Yi Xian rode the small electric vehicle at full speed all the way to the school to complete the admission procedures. When he arrived at the door of an office, Yi Xian knocked on the door. "Come in." A female voice came from the office. Yi Xian walked into the office and saw a woman in her 20s wearing a professional suit that accentuated her S-curve figure. She was extremely tall, wearing a pair of high heels, and had a pair of glasses on her face. Her pretty face pretended to be stern, but it exuded a charming look. The contrast between her hot body and serious expression made people daydream. She was the university counselor in Baiqing. Seeing this woman, Yi Xian was taken aback. It turned out to be a heavenly and charming body. There are a type of women in the world who have a fatal attraction for men, such as Yang Guifei and Zhao Fian in history. Such women can make men go crazy and willing to do anything for them. Yi Xian never expected that his university counselor would be a heavenly beauty. Although Baiqing dressed deliberately conservative, it is not difficult to imagine how many men in this university would be fascinated by her. "Hello, teacher In, my name is Yi Xian, I'm the new student in your class." Yi Xian came back to his senses and deliberately greeted her with a cold attitude. It wasn't that he didn't like beautiful women, it was just that history had taught him too many lessons. Indulging in this kind of woman would not bring good luck. And Baiqing looked at Yi Xian, who was calm and collected, and couldn't help but be a little surprised. Since she started elementary school, she had never seen a man who could still be so calm when meeting her. This made her feel somewhat favorably towards Yi Xian. "I'll take you to go through the admission procedures, and I'll take you to the classroom to meet your classmates." The sound of high heels clicking could be heard. And Baiqing walked in front of Yi Xian, her long legs wrapped in black silk, and her waist twisting like a water snake. She attracted many stares along the way. "You're just reporting now, so I guess your grades aren't very good. I'm afraid you had to pull a lot of strings to get into college, right?" "Yes," teacher In Yi Xian smiled and said, "I have bad grades, so I hope you can pay more attention to me in the future. Come on, if you have any questions in the future, you can come to my office to find me." And Baiqing gave Yi Xian a slight smile, and her watery eyes sparkled like ripples in a pond, almost stealing Yi Xian's soul. Fortunately, Yi Xian was no ordinary person, and he managed to steady his mind. If anyone else had seen Baiqing smile, I'm afraid the men of the entire school would be jealous of Yi Xian to death. And Baiqing is a famous cold goddess at Yunhai University. From male teachers to male students, everyone secretly regarded her as the object of their secret nighttime crushes. No matter who she was facing, Baiqing always had an attitude that kept people at a distance. Although there were many people who chased after her, without exception they all got the cold shoulder. The class she was the tutor for was also very famous throughout the school. Apart from her as the ultimate beautiful teacher, there was also a domineering rich girl and a beautiful and pure school beauty. The two of them chatted as they walked, and soon arrived at the classroom. It was the middle of the lesson, and the classroom was in an uproar. As Baiqing appeared, the classroom immediately fell silent, and the boys' attention was focused, as if their souls had been captured. And Baiqing seemed to have long been accustomed to the attention of others, calmly introducing, "This is our new classmate, his name is Yi Xian, everyone welcome." The classroom rang with sparse applause, and suddenly someone recognized Yi Xian, exclaiming, "Isn't this the brother who rides Pikachu? He's actually our new classmate." "The brother who rides Pikachu? What the hell?" And Baiqing blinked in confusion. Before she could ask what was going on, an excited shout came from the back of the classroom. "Boss! You really came. I'll follow you around from now on." The crowd turned their heads and saw a beautiful girl standing up, her pretty face full of excitement and emotion, walking towards Yi Xian. The girl had long hair, light makeup, and was very pretty, making a strong impression at first glance. She was wearing a short skirt, and her long, slender legs were so beautiful they took one's breath away. Lin Wan'er walked over with her tall, slender legs, not caring about the stares from others, and greeted Yi Xian. Seeing this, all the boys in the class shot Yi Xian murderous looks. A new student was actually chatting with Lin Wan'er like fire. Moreover, Lin Wan'er even called this kid her boss. The goddess of the school, who they saw as rich, arrogant, and haughty, would actually recognize a kid riding a small electric moped as her boss? Why? And Baiqing was also very puzzled. Lin Wan'er was the daughter of a wealthy family, arrogant and disdainful towards everyone, and the head girl who walked sideways at school. How could she call Yi Xian her boss? "Mizzen, I have another favor to ask you." Yi Xian bit his lip and said with some difficulty, "I just started at school and have fallen behind with too much homework. Could you please ask the learning committee member to give me a catch-up lesson?" Looking at Yi Xian's eager expression, Baiqing was momentarily stunned, and then felt heartfelt relief she had indeed not misjudged him. Yi Xian was indeed a diligent and studious student. Nowadays, it is the norm for college students to skip class and fall in love. There are so few hard-working students like Yi Xian. And Baiqing nodded and looked at the long-skirted girl reading seriously beside her. "Su Kexin, as the learning committee member, you should help the new students more." Yi Xian followed in Baiqing's gaze, and the next moment, his mind went blank. Damn, she's pretty. Chapter 8, So Pretty. So pretty. As one of the school flowers of Yunhai University, Su Kexin is naturally very pretty, especially when set off by the girls in her class. She is even more eye-catching. Su Kexin is wearing a long, light-colored dress, with long hair down to her waist. Her pure, delicate, and beautiful oval face with clear, watery eyes quickly swept Yi Xian, and she moved aside. Yi Xian took a deep breath, sat down next to Su Kexin without thinking, and smiled slightly. "Hello Su Kexin, I'm Yi Xian, please take care of me in the future." Sure enough, he wasn't lying, and the object of protection this time was indeed an innocent and beautiful college girl. Su Kexin frowned slightly, however. Why did she feel like all of this had been rehearsed in advance? Just then, Lin Wan'er patted the girl sitting next to Yi Xian and laughed. "Classmate, could you please change seats?" The girl didn't dare provoke Lin Wan'er, so she quickly picked up her books and hurriedly moved to another seat. "Boss, the student committee, the three of us will be in the same table from now on." Lin Wan'er laughed, and said to Yi Xian and Su Kexin. Smelling the pungent perfume, Su Kexin frowned, as if she hadn't heard, and continued to read her book with her head bowed. Lin Wan'er nudged Yi Xian with her elbow and whispered, "Boss, the student committee seems to be very afraid of you." Yi Xian glanced at her and said disdainfully, "Where's the fear of me? She's afraid of you." "Impossible. I'm quite a kind person." Lin Wan'er turned around, waved at a few female classmates in the back row, and smiled slightly. A few female students froze for a moment, then they all squeezed out a stiff smile at the same time. "See, I told you I'm quite popular." Lin Wan'er laughed proudly. Seeing Yi Xian being sandwiched between the two beautiful women, the other male students were full of envy. There are millions of men in the world, so why is Yi Xian the winner in life? Before long, the class started. Su Kexin had just crossed her legs, but then she felt it was not elegant, so she had to put her legs down and sit upright in her chair. Pop! A pen fell under the desk. Lin Wan'er whispered, "Boss, help me pick up the pen." "Mine is under yours." Yi Xian leaned down and crawled under the desk to pick up the pen. Not only did this reveal the pair of white, round, beautiful legs perfectly in front of Yi Xian, he could even see under the skirt. Unconsciously swallowed a mouthful of saliva, Yi Xian suddenly asked, "Su Kexin, is this your year of the ox?" "No." Su Kexin was stunned, not understanding why Yi Xian asked such a question. "If it's not your year of the ox, then why are you wearing red?" Upon hearing this, Su Kexin's pretty face flushed, and she quickly closed her legs together, treating Yi Xian as a bad student and ignoring him for the rest of the class. Yi Xian was very depressed. He really didn't mean it. After school at noon. Outside Yunhai University is a bustling commercial street, full of people and bustling with activity. After a morning of classes, Su Kexin was already hungry, and she dragged her female classmates to the commercial street to buy snacks. Yi Xian, riding a small electric bicycle, chased after them and smiled slightly. "Committee member, do you need a ride?" Su Kexin didn't want to deal with him and quickened her pace. "Kexin, that boy took advantage of you in class?" The 200-pound female classmate on the side laughed. "No, but he was talking too much." Su Kexin blushed and said. The female classmate snorted, rolled up her sleeves and said fiercely, "Flattery, it's obvious he's no good. If he dares to bully you, I'll punch him in the face." The two of them chatted as they walked into an alley. Suddenly, a few people dressed in flashy clothes came towards them, blocking their way. Su Kexin and her friend were shocked. "What do you want?" the girl asked. "Hey, little beauty," the young man with the yellow hair leading the way gave a wicked smile and said, "How about if I give you a kiss and I'll buy you a milk tea?" "I don't want to," the female student said in fear. "Who's talking to you? Where's the tiger tank?" The young man with the yellow hair glanced at him with disgust and scolded him, "Get lost." The female student was so scared that she hurriedly ran towards the school. At this time, Yi Xian happened to pass by on his small electric bicycle. Seeing this, he grabbed the female student and said in confusion, "Classmate, what's wrong with you?" "Something's happened." A few thugs left Kexin behind. The female student glanced back, shuddered in fear, and said in a panic, "These are the people from the Longhu group. The leader is nicknamed Brother Tiger, and he has many followers. They often bully female college students near the school." "Longhu group?" Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. This was the second time he had heard that name. "These thugs bully female students near the university, and no one will do anything about it?" The female student looked at Yi Xian with a stupid expression on her face. "The Longhu group has a lot of power in Yunhai City. Our school can't afford to provoke them. Before, a security guard who did the right thing was hit by a dump truck the next day and killed. No one dares to intervene anymore." After these words, the female student ran away in a panic. Yi Xian rushed to the alley and saw Su Kexin surrounded by a few thugs. Just as Yi Xian thought Su Kerson must be terrified, Su Kerson's firm voice came from in front of him. What you are doing is illegal. If you don't leave, I'm going to call the police. Hearing this, Yi Xian realized that this seemingly delicate and pure school beauty was actually so tough when faced with the harassment of the thugs. Yi Xian was intrigued and sat on his little electric moped, watching how things would develop. Ha, little beauty, you're quite stubborn. In that case, I won't make things difficult for you. How about you give us 500 yuan and treat us to a drink? The young man nicknamed Brother Tiger said with a smile. This is blackmail and extortion. I won't give you a penny. Su Kerson gripped the hem of her skirt tightly, her palms sweating. Although she was nervous, she refused to give in. You're so ungrateful. Brother Tiger said impatiently. You won't give me sex, and you won't give me money either. You're not giving me face, are you? Well, in that case, I'll take both. The thugs surrounded him with evil grins, step by step. This beauty has long, thin legs, with delicate skin and flesh. I really want to pinch them. Let's take her back and have some fun tonight. I wonder what she's like in bed. Will there be a contrast, huh? Just at the critical moment, a small electric moped with Pikachu stickers came speeding by. Let go of the girl. Chapter 9, I'm waiting for you to kill me. Who are you? Brother Hu looked at Yi Xian disdainfully. This kid was riding a broken electric bicycle and thought he was Lubu? Brother Hu, it seems like a student from Yunhai University. A thug said. Yo, who did you think it was? Just a broken student, and you want to learn from someone else to rescue a beauty? Brother Hu said disdainfully. Yi Xian said indifferently, I'll say it again, let go of that girl and get out of here. Fuck, you really want to make a name for yourself? Brother Hu looked at Yi Xian and said, don't be ungrateful. I've been to prison before. If you know what's good for you, get the hell out of here. Instead of leaving, Yi Xian stopped the small electric moped and picked up a brick from the ground. Are you here to make fun of me? Even if I touch this girl's ass, what can you do about it? A small thug said with a sneer, and suddenly reached out and directly touched Su Kerson's skirt. Ah! A scream suddenly sounded, and everyone felt a flash of light in front of their eyes. The thug who had just reached out to touch Su Kerson had flown 5 or 6 meters, crashed into the alley wall, and never got up again. Everyone was dumbfounded. Because they didn't see what was going on at all. Damn it, kill him. Brother Hu's sharp eyes saw clearly that just as the thug's hand was about to touch Su Kerson's skirt, Yi Xian suddenly moved. He kicked the punk right in the chest, and the punk screamed and flew away on the spot. 5 or 6 punks picked up bricks, sticks, and other things from the ground, and some pulled out daggers from their bodies and charged at Yi Xian ferociously. Su Kexin saw this scene and trembled with fear, but gathered her courage and rushed over to stand in front of Yi Xian, shouting, Yi Xian, you run? Then, Su Kerson shouted at Brother Hu and the others, it's not his fault. If you're so capable, come at me. Looking at Su Kerson's soft and weak back, Yi Xian's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise and appreciation. He grabbed Su Kerson's arm and pulled her behind him in an instant. You go first, I'll take care of this. Su Kerson's heart trembled. Looking at Yi Xian's slender back, she was moved to tears and ran desperately out of the alley. The next moment, there was a fierce shouting and fighting sound in the alley. Su Kexin was so nervous. Yi Xian was so thin, and it was obvious that he could not fight, so how could he possibly be a match for those thugs? By the time she had brought help, I'm afraid that Yi Xian would not be able to hold out, he would die. Su Kexin gathered her courage and thought to herself, Yi Xian is here to save me, I must not leave him alone, no, I have to go back. Su Kerson gritted her teeth, grabbed an iron bar on the ground, and gathered her courage to rush back. Ah! What came into view was a pool of blood. A man was lying in the pool of blood, convulsing in pain. Yi! Su Kerson was surprised to discover, before she could even scream, that the person lying in the pool of blood was not Yi Xian, but Brother Tiger. Yi Xian was holding a brick in his hand, stepping on Brother Tiger's head with a cold expression. Brother Tiger lay on the ground, wiping the blood from his face, and trembling as he asked, Who the hell are you? Who I am? Yi Xian sneered, and dragged Brother Tiger up from the ground. Today, I'll teach you a lesson, and teach you not to lay a hand on my woman. He punched Brother Tiger in the stomach. Brother Tiger's eyes bulged, his mouth wide open, gasping in pain. My woman? Does that mean me? Yi Xian is so overbearing. Su Kerson felt her heart pounding, her face quickly turning red. Looking at Yi Xian's back, her mind went blank, and a feeling of affection arose in her heart like never before. Although he was a bit of a flirt, he had a strong sense of justice and was very brave. He was so handsome. Perceiving the sudden thought that popped into her head, Su Kexin spat at herself in shame, and quickly took a deep breath to stop her rambling thoughts. Kid, I'm from the Longhu group. My big brother is Li Mang. Aren't you afraid of retaliation? Brother who covered his stomach and trembled. Retaliation? Pop. Yi Xian slapped brother who in the face. Retaliation, huh? Pop. Another slap directly knocked out the latter's two front teeth. Papa Tapa. Yi Xian shook the blood off his hands, spat on the semi-dead tiger on the ground, and then turned and left. A moment later. Classmate Yi Xian, is this not a good idea? Classmate Kexin, I'm sorry, it's all my fault for being so weak that I twisted my ankle, so you have to take the trouble to ride the electric bicycle with me. Yi Xian sat in the back seat of the car, his hands gently around Su Kexin's small waist. The gentle breeze caressed their faces, and the air was full of the scent of youth, fresh and invigorating. He sniffed hard, and caught the scent of Su Kexin's long hair, which smelled very good. Su Kexin's riding skills were only so-so, and the road was full of potholes, so she almost threw Yi Xian off the bike. Fortunately, Yi Xian's arms were wrapped tightly around her waist, holding the two of them together. It had to be said, Su Kexin's waist was really thin and felt very good. Yi Xian, you helped me, how can I repay you? Su Kexin hesitated for a long time before finally stammering. I feel so hot right now, Yi Xian said. Then I'll buy you an ice lolly to cool down. 2. Okay, deal. In no time at all, Su Kexin drove him to the school snack street and stopped in front of a small Dongbei barbecue. The small Dongbei barbecue is delicious, only a few tens of dollars per person, and the owner, Auntie Sun, is very nice. I used to work here before, Su Kexin introduced. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. It was indeed rare for the school beauty queen not to rely on her beauty to make money, but to work hard at the barbecue restaurant. Auntie Sun, I'll have 3 popsicles. Su Kexin stopped the car and shouted into the shop. A middle-aged woman with big curly hair looked up and smiled. Kexin, have you got a boyfriend? Su Kexin shook her head quickly, blushing. He's a new classmate. The middle-aged woman handed Su Kexin 3 popsicles. Su Kexin kept one and gave the other 2 to Yi Xian. The two of them ate the popsicles on the street. Yi Xian turned his head to look at Su Kexin, and saw her sticking out her delicate little pink tongue and gently licking the old popsicle, looking like she was enjoying it. Plop. Some strange images popped into Yi Xian's head without him realizing it. Do you like to lick it? Yi Xian smiled slightly. Yeah, I also like to bite it big time, said Su Kexin, smiling slightly, revealing 2 cute little tiger teeth, and biting into the popsicle in one bite, biting off half of it. For some reason, Yi Xian felt a chill down below. Yi Xian took 2 popsicles, one in each hand, and ate them in turn. I just like the feeling of eating 2 at a time. Boss, student council president. You 2 actually ate behind my back. At this time, Lin Wan'er popped up from behind and came over excitedly. In broad daylight, don't slander people's innocence just by saying things. Yi Xian felt a little guilty. Su Kexin froze for a moment and couldn't keep up with the speed at all. Give me a bite of the popsicle. Hurry. Lin Wan'er licked her lips, a little impatient. I've already bitten it all the way up. Yi Xian said with a pout. It's okay, I'll just bite the bottom. Lin Wan'er snatched a popsicle, looking smug. Hee hee, this one's big, I'll bite this one. Ah, biting it is so refreshing. Is it refreshing for you, boss? Chapter 10, The School Beauty is licking my wound for me. What's wrong? Yi Xian and Su Kexin were seen by many students passing by as they ate popsicles in the school snack bar. The intimate actions of the two made the male students' hearts collapse. Envy. Jealousy. Hate. This bumpkin actually got the pure school beauty. Su Kexin rode a small electric bicycle, with Yi Xian sitting on the back seat, his arms around Su Kexin's waist. The boys passing by were stunned. Countless gazes gathered on Yi Xian, with envy, shock, and jealousy. By the roadside, Sun Jie watched the little electric car speed past, his eyes wide open, his mouth wide open. Sun Jie couldn't believe it and rubbed his eyes, exclaiming in his heart, "Holy cow! Isn't this the kid from the bar? When did he hook up with the school beauty queen?" What's even more unacceptable is that Su Kexin is riding on the scooter with Yi Xian, and Yi Xian is allowed to hug her. He previously gave Su Kexin 999 roses to profess his love in public, but Su Kexin directly rejected him. He couldn't get Lin Wan'er, but Yi Xian did, and they even slept together. He couldn't get Su Kexin, but Yi Xian did. They're even holding hands. Damn it, you really are giving me face, aren't you? Sun Jie hurriedly chased after him with a few followers. Before Su Kexin dropped Yi Xian off at the infirmary, she whispered, "Yi Xian, does your foot still hurt?" Yi Xian got out of the car, rubbed his ankle, and said, "It's all broken and it hurts a lot." "Hang in there, I'll go buy a band-aid." Su Kexin was about to go in when she realized that the infirmary was not open. "I know a way, but I'm not sure if you'll agree," Yi Xian said with some embarrassment. "Just say it," Su Kexin said nervously. Yi Xian looked at Su Kexin's snow-white legs exposed by her short skirt, licked his lips, and smiled. "If you feel bad about it, you can use your red lips to lick my wound for me. Saliva can disinfect it, and it will definitely heal faster." Su Kexin was stunned, and then blushed and said, "It's this time of day, and you still have the nerve to joke. Then help me see if there's anyone around." Su Kexin bent over and slowly crouched in front of Yi Xian. "Little bastard, I'll fucking kill you." A roar suddenly sounded behind him. Sun Jie came charging over, his face full of anger, his eyes about to pop out of his head. "Su Kexin, this kid is cheating you. He's not even hurt. He's taking advantage of your kindness and taking advantage of you. You've been fooled." He was on his way here, and he asked the students in Su Kexin's class about Yi Xian, and learned that Yi Xian was a new transfer student who sat with Su Kexin in class. This made Sun Jie even more unhappy, so he hurried to the infirmary to find Yi Xian. But he saw the school flower preparing to help this kid lick his wounds. Yi Xian thought to himself, "Idiot. I should have killed this son of a bitch in the bar last time. I didn't realize this son of a bitch was also a student at Yunhai University." Upon hearing this, Su Kexin froze for a moment, her pretty face immediately turning red, and she looked at Yi Xian. "Yi Xian, are you hurt or not?" In fact, in her heart, she had long regarded Yi Xian as a good person, an upright and courageous boy, so how could he possibly take advantage of her? "Isn't this Sun Jie, the school president? Something big is going to happen. Sun Jie's family is rich, and he's also the president of the school's martial arts club. Someone offended him before, and they got their limbs broken and were dumped at the school gate. This kid is going to die. I bet he won't survive the day." Everyone looked at Yi Xian and shook their heads, their gazes like they were looking at a dead man. Sun Jie stuck his hands in his pockets and said provocatively, "Who the hell do you think you are, riding a little electric moped and trying to pick up girls? And you pretended to be hurt, tricked the school flower to give you a massage, didn't you? This is such a cliché way to woo a girl, aren't you tacky? I don't know how you're going to explain this." Yi Xian sneered inwardly, but on the surface he looked indignant, shouting, "You're talking nonsense. Are you saying that Kexin is stupid and naive, that's why I was able to trick her? You can slander me, but you're not allowed to mock Kexin. You must apologize to Kexin." Seeing Yi Xian's indignant expression, Su Kexin's heart became more and more determined. She was right in her judgment. Yi Xian was a good person. Sun Jie saw that Yi Xian deliberately misinterpreted what he meant, and immediately became anxious. He angrily said, "Yi Xian, don't pretend to be stupid here. You little schemer, you can fool Su Kexin, but you can't fool me. Stop pretending." Su Kexin's pretty face turned cold, and she huffed, "Sun Jie, I'm telling you now. I, Su Kexin, am not some dumb blonde, and Yi Xian is definitely not a bad guy. You should apologize to him." Seeing Su Kexin take the initiative to speak up for Yi Xian, the boys who were watching were all envious, thinking that the guy was just too lucky. Sun Jie's face gradually turned gloomy. "Su Kexin, you can't believe him, he's not a good person. Last night at the bar, he and Lin Wan'er." Yi Xian sneered. "Last night at the bar, a rich young man bullied Lin Wan'er and wanted to force her to be his girlfriend. I couldn't stand by and watch, so I stepped forward to help Lin Wan'er." Then, Yi Xian changed the subject. "That rich young man who was hugging a beautiful woman and bullying people because of his wealth, I can't remember his name. Sun Jie, you better help me think of it." Sun Jie could not find the words for a long time, his heart was boiling with anger, and his whole body was shaking. "This guy. So despicable. I should have killed you in the bar." Su Kexin, upon hearing Yi Xian's words, suddenly understood, and said coldly, "Sun Jie, I never thought you were such a person. Even an upright classmate like Yi Xian is spreading rumors and slandering you, you've gone too far. I really misjudged you, please don't harass me in the future. After saying this, Su Kexin got on the small electric bicycle, asked Yi Xian to get on, and then said, Yi Xian, I'll take you to the clinic outside to buy medicine. Let's go, ignore this kind of person. Hearing this, Sun Jie was even more infuriated. He had been courting Su Kexin for more than a month, sending flowers and buying gifts, but Su Kexin had been exceptionally cold towards him, not even letting him hold her hand. And Yi Xian. In just half a day, he had already wrapped his arms around the school flower's tiny waist. Jealousy made him burn with rage, and the flames of anger made him lose his mind. Fuck. He couldn't swallow this insult. Yi Xian, let me have a word with you. Sun Jie walked up with a cold face, his gaze as if he wanted to devour Yi Xian alive. What did he want to say? Yi Xian raised an eyebrow. Kid, do you know how to write the word death? If you have the guts, come to the woods behind the school tonight, I'll break your limbs and feed you to the dogs. If you don't dare to come, I'll see you and screw you every time I see you. Damn it, a bumpkin, and he still dares to go against me. Sun Jie was full of arrogance and cursed wantonly. Not only was Yi Xian not afraid, but he laughed and covered his stomach. He laughed so hard that tears came out. Damn it! A useless rich kid actually wants to bully him on campus? He only wanted to protect Su Kexin as an ordinary student in a low-key manner, because he knew that the danger the military was talking about was definitely not the Longhu group, so the lower the profile, the less likely it would attract attention. But these cats and dogs just came to die on their own, so don't blame him for being ruthless. Yi Xian nodded, okay, I'll wait for you to get me killed. Chapter 11, I bet he won't survive the night. Yi Xian, what did he just say to you? Did he threaten you? Su Kexin sensed that something was wrong and asked hurriedly. Yi Xian gave a smile and shrugged, it's nothing, he invited me to go for a walk in the woods tonight. You mustn't go, he is the president of the martial arts club at school and has practiced kung fu, he will bully you. Su Kexin hurriedly warned. Don't worry, I know what to do. While riding the small electric bike, Su Kexin couldn't help but feel uneasy as she thought back over the whole incident. She felt guilty and said, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. If I hadn't gotten you into trouble, Sun Jie wouldn't have bothered you. Yi Xian spoke up, don't say that. I won't let him bully you. No matter what he wants to do to get back at me, as long as you're okay, that's all that matters. In the sunlight, Yi Xian's cheeks rose into a smile, a bright, radiant smile. I can do anything to protect you, even if it means making enemies with the whole world. As long as I can protect you, I can do anything, even if I have to make enemies with the whole world. Su Kexin repeated this silently in her heart. Her heart trembled. Classmate Yi Xian, although he has poor grades and loves to flirt, he is really upright and brave. Will he have a crush on me? Oh, what am I thinking? Su Kexin's pretty face flushed, and she quickly took a deep breath, trying to concentrate on cycling, but those strange thoughts in her head just wouldn't go away. In the evening, the students who were studying on their own packed up their things and walked out of the library. Yi Xian, let's go. Su Kexin said, putting down her book. You go ahead and eat, I'll go to the cafeteria to get a meal card. Yi Xian smiled. Okay. Su Kexin nodded and left the library. After Su Kexin left the library, Yi Xian didn't go to get a meal card, but rode his little electric cart to the small forest. As soon as he parked the scooter, a few people strutted up to him. Looking at this incredibly cool little electric moped, the faces of the boys gradually turned dark. There's no mistake, it's this son of a bitch. You're Yi Xian, right? Come with us. The leader said with a sinister smile. Yi Xian wore a sneer on his face and followed these people into the woods. At this time, behind the woods, quite a few people had already gathered. In the afternoon, the school had gone crazy. Someone had offended Sun Jie, and Sun Jie wanted to get rid of him. The last person who offended Sun Jie had their limbs broken and dumped at the school gate. Who would be the unlucky bastard this time? Boom! A red sports car pulled up by the roadside. Lu Fei trotted up and opened the door with all the deference of a lackey, and Sun Jie got out with a cold face. At 1.8 meters tall, with handsome cheeks and a dashing hairstyle, he caused a gasp when he appeared. Sun Xiao is here. With a gasp, the crowd revealed excited expressions. Lu Fei, is that kid here? Sun Jie raised his proud head and spoke coldly. Don't worry, Sun Xiao. I've caught the Yi kid. The brothers from the martial arts club are watching him. He won't be able to escape tonight. Lu Fei patted his chest and said. Well done. Sun Jie patted Lu Fei on the shoulder. Just wait for your order, brothers, and waste him. Beat him until he loses his arms and legs, throw him out the front door, and let him be humiliated. Lu Fei snorted. Sun Jie nodded, of course. What is that kid? He dares to touch the woman I like? Kill him. Dozens of followers roared in unison. Don't worry, tonight I'll let him know what it means to be better off dead. Sun Jie's eyes flashed with coldness. It was getting dark, the street lamps in the woods were dim, and it was almost impossible to see people. Couples who couldn't hold back their emotions often came here to express their feelings. Behind the bleachers was a large area of abandoned woods, which were next to the fence. That's why Sun Jie had chosen this place to meet. He wanted to give Yi Xian a good beating. He wanted to show him. Who was the boss in this school? Who is the boss? At that time. In the school cafeteria. Su Kexin was eating while browsing the school forum. Today, the school forum had an exceptionally high number of views, and it was as lively as the Chinese New Year. The first hot post had someone from outside the school posting a threat, offering 100,000 yuan for all information about a boy named Yi Shuaibi. It even viciously said, "We want this Yi Shuaibi dead without a burial ground." The replies below were all over the place, guessing whether this student had dug up someone's ancestral grave, and it even attracted people to chase after him to the school forum. More people were asking, who is Yi Shuaibi? The second most popular post was about someone seeing the innocent school flower riding a small electric moped with a boy. This news exploded on the forum, causing a huge sensation. There were all kinds of posts below, and the one with the most replies was of the innocent school flower in front, the mysterious man behind, going up and down. Su Kexin's pretty face suddenly turned red with shame, and she quickly closed the post, thinking that these rumor mongers were really bad. At that moment, a new post popped up. Ha! Su Kexin froze for a moment, and hurriedly clicked on the post. Although the picture accompanying the post was very blurry, she could still make out that, surrounded by dozens of dark shadows, a boy stood proudly, his back straight. He has the air of a man who can stand up to thousands. The comments below were, "This boy is so handsome, but unfortunately he's a goner, __. The guy on the electric scooter and the guy in the supercar are from different worlds, idiot. I bet he won't survive the night." Until she saw the last reply. "I know this boy. He's the new transfer student in our class. His name is Yi Xian." A thud. Su Kexin's heart trembled. Her mind went blank. The gentle voice of that boy echoed in her mind. "I can do anything as long as I can protect you, even if I have to make enemies with the whole world." Pop. She put down her chopsticks and turned around, running towards the cafeteria door. Tears. They welled up in her eyes. Chapter 12. Sun Xiao was hiding in the woods behind the grandstand on the playground. Sun Jie had his hands in his pockets, his gaze cold, and he didn't turn around. "You're here." "Yi Xian, I'm here." "Sun Jie, you shouldn't have come." "Yi Xian, didn't you tell me to come? Are we going to fight or not? If not, I'm leaving." "Sun Jie. Damn it, you still dare to act cool in front of me? Wait and see if you can still smile. Kid, you've got some nerve, you still dare to come." Sun Jie turned around, surveying Yi Xian with a cold smile, and said ruthlessly, "I'll give you two choices, either get the hell out of this university and never see Su Kexin again in this life. Or I'll beat you into a cripple, and you'll be in a wheelchair in your next life. What do you want to choose?" Sun Jie stared viciously at Yi Xian and clenched his fists. Dozens of members of the martial arts club around him also cast threatening glances at Yi Xian. The crowd of onlookers in the distance all revealed pitying expressions. There were only two words to describe today's scene. Certain death. This kid, Sun Xiao, is doomed, and even the principal can't save him. Yi Xian revealed a sneer, not only showing no fear at all, but instead looking a little disdainful. "My answer is very simple, only a child would choose between two options. I want to woo the school flower and beat you up at the same time." Ha ha. Quite a character. This guy doesn't take Sun Xiao seriously. This kid is dead. Damn it. You want to die. Sun Jie shouted angrily. He slammed a punch at Yi Xian's face. As the president of the school's martial arts club, Sun Jie's strength was no joke. Last time, he was at the bar because he drank too much and didn't perform well. Usually, he can easily take on 5 or 6 adults by himself. Sun Jie was full of confidence in his fists. However, wow! The punch missed. Ha! Sun Jie was shocked. Yi Xian had slipped aside at some point and was looking at him with a sneer on his face. Screw you! Sun Jie gritted his teeth and swung his fist again. At that moment, in Yi Xian's vision, Sun Jie's fist-swinging motion looked like slow motion in a movie. Slow. Too slow. Meanwhile, Yi Xian moved. He used 2 fingers to hold the steel needle and stabbed it more than 10 times in a row. Each needle was thrust into Sun Jie's key acupoints in the intestines and stomach. This series of actions seemed complicated, but in reality it only happened in an instant. Even Sun Jie couldn't see his movements clearly, and he only felt something flash in front of his eyes. It wasn't until Yi Xian finished that Sun Jie's second punch belatedly arrived. Unsurprisingly, this punch once again missed. Ah! Sun Jie suddenly let out a scream, and a stabbing pain spread through his body. His intestines suddenly cramped. Ugh! Sun Jie covered his stomach and his face changed dramatically, it hurt so much. Damn it! This strong feeling is defecation. Sun Jie's face turned red, his legs clenched, and he didn't dare to move. He had an ominous feeling that as long as the door was wide open, he would immediately plummet 3,000 feet. At this moment, everyone held their breath and nervously looked at Sun Jie. Why isn't Sun Xiao moving? Someone asked in a low voice. Can't you see? Lu Fei said coldly, Sun Xiao is holding back a big move. Look! Sun Xiao's face is turning red from holding back. The martial arts club members suddenly understood. Yi Xian, you're dead. What are you going to do when Sun Xiao unleashes his big move? Humph, can you stop it? I can't hold back anymore. Sun Jie's face was turning red from holding back, and he couldn't hold back anymore. Sun Xiao, if you can't hold it in, let it out. Hurry up. Lu Fei was looking forward to it with excitement. I'll let you go. Sun Jie finally reached his limit. It's over. I can't hold it in anymore. Bang bang pa pa bang bang pa pa. Like the yellow river flowing endlessly, like a floodgate opening and spilling out thousands of miles, accompanied by a loud noise, Sun Jie's pants were completely soaked, and yellow semi-liquid sprayed out from the cuffs. Shit! Sun Jie flew on the spot. Everyone was dumbfounded at this moment. A million curses in their hearts. The entire scene, nearly 100 people, fell into deathly silence at the same time. All the onlookers looked on in shock. Lu Fei and the others were dumbfounded. It's over. Sun Xiaofei had flown. And in front of so many people. This is big news. Sun Jie froze in place, his mind a blank. He could feel both pant legs as heavy as lead, and they were also a bit hot. I said, why don't you have a sense of public morality? Yi Xian pretended to be surprised and shouted, how can you pee anywhere on campus? Sun Jie's head buzzed. This sentence was like a thunderbolt striking his head. It made his entire soul feel like it had suddenly emptied. I did a poo? I did a poo in public? Sun Jie's face turned pale. He turned his head and looked at the hundreds of students gathered around him. These students had never seen anything like this before, and they were all so scared that they hurriedly backed away several meters. Their expressions were all so wonderful. Some looked disgusted, some shocked, some mocked, and some couldn't help but laugh like pigs. Holy shit! Sun Jie just pooped himself. Ha ha ha. Someone just pooped out his shit. Sun Xiao's ultimate move, transforming into a jet fighter. Sun Xiao is really awesome, using a biochemical weapon at the drop of a hat. Biochemical weapon? Ha ha, do you want to make me laugh to death? Sun Jie listened to the voices of the people. Around him, he wanted to die. He really wanted to die. Oh. What's the point of living with someone like this? Yi Xian, I'll fight you to the death. Sun Jie looked at Yi Xian's smirking face, and suddenly sadness welled up in his heart. He gritted his teeth and charged over to fight Yi Xian to the death. I'll kill you today. Yi Xian covered his chest. Sun Jie, he beat me. Yi Xian was full of grievances and protested in grief, this is too much. Sun Jie was dumbfounded. What's going on? I didn't even touch you with a finger. Ah. Yi Xian. Are you okay? Su Kexin ran over in a panic, supporting Yi Xian. Seeing his appearance, she couldn't help but angrily scold Sun Jie. Sun Jie, you're so hateful. How can you hit people? And Baiqing gritted her teeth and her pretty face turned cold. Sun Jie, this is a school, you've gone too far. The other male teachers echoed. This is absolutely heinous. This incident must be reported to the teaching office. It must be dealt with severely. Sun Jie's face changed. Teacher and I. Pa. Before he could explain, there was another burst of free flying. It was even more violent than the last time. Sun Jie was full of grief and indignation, and turned and ran towards the bathroom. He limped and stumbled. He even lost a shoe. Lu Fei saw this and hurriedly shouted from behind. Sun Xiao. Slow down. You've lost your shoe. Ah no. Chapter 13 Yi Xian stabbed me. That night, Sun Jie went to the hospital for a full body checkup and then found the doctor. The doctor took the test report and shook his head, saying, You are in very good health, except for some problems with your stomach and intestines. Just pay attention to your diet in the future. That's it? Sun Jie looked suspicious, frowning and saying, I don't have any other injuries? No, the doctor said helplessly. No way. Sun Jie snorted, his face full of anger, and said, I remember it clearly. That brat, he stabbed me. He stabbed me so hard it hurt. First, I had stomach pain, then gut pain, and then I lost control of my bowels and bladder. Sun Jie roared in anger. Yi Xian stabbed me. There's no mistake. He stabbed me. His voice trailed off. There was dead silence in the hospital. The medical staff and patients stopped in their tracks and turned to look at Sun Jie with pity. Sigh. Stomach ache, intestinal pain, incontinence. After working in the hospital for so many years, I have seen many perverts, but when it comes to shock, this guy really stands alone. The doctor looked troubled. He scummed you, he is a scum, I feel very sorry for you. But this is a heart disease, the machine can't detect it. Classmate, you must protect yourself in the future, remember? The doctor sent a smile full of love. Sun Jie was dumbfounded. What was the doctor talking about? Why couldn't he understand? And why were all the medical staff looking at him with pity? What were these people doing? As he walked out of the hospital, a middle-aged man rushed up to him outside the door, with a respectful smile on his face. Sun Xiao, I'm really sorry, I've caused you distress. I will definitely investigate this matter thoroughly. The middle-aged man was none other than Xiao Pang, the director of the school's guidance office. Xiao Pang was able to enter the school thanks to the Sun family's connections, so he tried to curry favor with Sun Jie in every way possible. Sun Jie had done a lot of bad things at school, and it was all thanks to him that they had been suppressed. When he heard that Sun Jie had run into trouble at school, Xiao Pang was extremely nervous and hurried over to find out what had happened. Sun Jie glared at Xiao Pang and said viciously, I don't care what you do, I want that transfer student Yi Xian to pay the price. Thinking of the scene on the playground when he was mocked by his classmates, Sun Jie's heart was filled with rage. He, a rich and handsome guy born with a silver spoon, had actually lost control of his bowels and bladder in full view of everyone. What a disgrace! He was unwilling to let Yi Xian get away with it. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Xiao Pang nodded with a stern face. Oh, yes, that counselor in Baiqing, you should get rid of her too. Sun Jie added. And Baiqing? Xiao Pang's eyes lit up, and a graceful and charming figure appeared in his mind. A sneer curled the corner of his mouth. This slut, I've wanted to screw her for a long time, but I never thought she would offend Sun Xiao. This time she definitely won't escape from my clutches. Sun Jie narrowed his eyes. Director Zhao seems to have had an idea for a long time. Xiao Pang leaned over Sun Jie's ear and whispered a few words in a low voice. The two men glanced at each other and both revealed a conspiratorial sneer. At that moment, after returning home, Yi Xian lay on the bed and used his mobile phone to browse the school forum, registering an account in the process. In the nickname field, Yi Xian thought about it for a while and used the name Lao Bajiao, which was more in line with his personal temperament. Upon entering the forum, he saw that, as expected, the school forum had completely exploded. The entire homepage of the forum was full of posts about the playground battle. Someone even took a photo of Sun Jie flying in a flustered manner. The entire school forum was in an uproar. Yi Xian scanned a few pages and saw a post that immediately caught his eye. Someone had posted that they were willing to pay 100,000 yuan for all the information about a boy named Yi Shuaibi. However, after so long, no one on the entire forum knew Yi Shuaibi. Many people speculated that this Yi Shuaibi was fake and didn't even exist. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and sent a private message to the poster. I know this Yi Shuaibi. Ding dong. In a moment, Brother Hu went online and quickly replied, give me all his information. Yi Xian thought for a moment and typed out a line. Okay, but you have to pay more. On the other side. Buckingham Club. Li Meng, vice president of the Longhu group, pushed away the two Russian beauties next to him, stared at his phone, and frowned. Next to him, Brother Hu, wrapped in gauze, trembled and said, President Li, we have to get rid of that kid. Otherwise, how can our Longhu group survive? Li Meng sent a voice message with a stern face, how much do you want? 1 million. Okay. Then transfer the money first. Kid, you're not fucking with me, are you? Li Meng was obviously getting impatient. Believe it or not. Li Meng pondered for a moment, assuming that no student would dare to lie to him, and so he asked for the bank card number and transferred 1 million yuan. The money has been transferred to you. Send me the kid's information, hurry. Yi Xian clicked on the video invitation after seeing the notification of the incoming payment on his phone. Li Meng connected the video without thinking, and the next second, Brother Tiger behind him instantly petrified. Damn it. It's him. The person who hit me is him. Yi Xian sneered, Boss, what information do you want about me? Typing is too troublesome, just ask me directly. Who the hell are you? Li Meng realized that he had been tricked, and his face full of murderous intent. I'm just called Yi Shuai, you idiot. Open your eyes and take a look, am I not handsome? Damn it. Li Meng got so angry that he stood up and directly dropped his phone. He had been tricked by this kid. And he had been cheated out of 1 million yuan. Li Meng roared, what are you all doing standing there? Go find him. If you can't find this kid, I'll destroy Yunhai University along with him. On the other side, Yi Xian had just finished taking a shower and was getting ready for bed. Just then, his phone suddenly rang, and a charming woman's voice came from the other end. Yi Xian, are you asleep? Teacherin? You're looking for me? And Baiqing took a deep breath and said in a serious tone, something big has happened. You've caused a big mess. Chapter 14, just wait until they come to collect his body. Early the next morning. Su Koaxian came to the cafeteria to eat, and just happened to see Lu Fei and a few others gathered together, as if discussing something. Don't worry, Sun Xiao won't let him go. That Yi kid, he'll be jumping around for the next few days at most. He even dared to steal Sun Xiao's woman, he really is tired of living. Su Koaxian hurriedly walked to the side, afraid of being seen by Lu Fei and the others, and hurriedly carried her breakfast back to the classroom. She was very anxious. Sun Jie really intended to take revenge on Yi Xian. Yi Xian was only resented by Sun Jie because of her, and she had caused Yi Xian harm. Committee member, why do you look so glum? Lin Wan'er sat down with her bag, took a look at Su Kexin, and asked curiously. Su Kexin struggled for a few seconds, and finally made up her mind and said, Lin, can you please help me? Lin Wan'er was taken aback. She didn't expect that Su Koaxian, a model student, would take the initiative to talk to her. She then laughed and said, Class monitor, just tell me what you need help with. Something happened to Yi Xian. Su Koaxian recounted what had happened yesterday. Holy shit, the boss beat up Sun Jie? Lin Wan'er was taken aback, and then gave a thumbs up, the boss is awesome. Su Koaxian was nervous about Sun Jie. This incident has caused quite a stir. I'll do my best. Lin Wan'er's face was a little grave. Although the Lin family had some local power, the Sun family was mainly in the entertainment industry, and in the area of the indescribable, the Sun family was much stronger than the Lin family. Although Sun Jie did not dare to lay a hand on Lin Wan, Yi Xian had no power or influence, and no background. Even if Lin Wan came forward, Sun Jie would not care at all. After getting Sun Jie on the phone, Lin Wan'er solemnly said, Young Master Sun, do me a favor, I'll pay you 1 million and let bygones be bygones regarding Yi Xian. Are you kidding me? He made me lose face in public and I've been humiliated. Do you think my face is worth just 1 measly million? Sun Jie snarled. What about 2 million? Lin Wan'er pursued. Cut the crap. This matter can no longer be solved with money. Let me tell you, this matter concerns the Sun family's face, and my father has promised me that I can deploy the family's power to take revenge as I please. Just wait and see how you will collect Yi Xian's corpse. The Sun family hung up the phone angrily. Lin Wan'er gradually turned pale, especially Sun Jie's last sentence, which indicated that the severity of the matter far exceeded her imagination. The Sun family wants Yi Xian dead. This is a big problem. Lin, is this something that can be easily resolved? Su Kexin asked cautiously. Resolved my ass. This is a big deal. Where is the headmaster? Tell him to pack his things and run. Lin Wan'er swallowed hard, grabbed Su Kexin's arm, and said in a panic. Upon hearing this, Su Kexin immediately became nervous. She knew that Yi Xian was in danger, and I'm afraid it's still a matter of life and death. Su Kexin hurriedly called Yi Xian, but there was no answer. Moreover, class was about to start, and Yi Xian had not come to the classroom. I'll go find him. Su Kexin also couldn't care about the class anymore, and left the classroom in a panic. At that time, Yi Xian stood in front of the office door and knocked. Come in. And Baiqing turned around and looked at Yi Xian. What do you want, Mr. Ren? Yi Xian glanced around. And Baiqing was wearing a white shirt and a black skirt today. She had a pair of slender legs covered in black stockings and high heels, her long black hair tied up with a hairpin. The key was the combination of her heavenly beauty and her glasses. The glasses on her face instead set off the unique mature charm of the young lady. Yi Xian, someone posted a picture of you on the school forum, saying that you hurt someone outside of school and they want to get back at you. Is this true? And Baiqing stroked her glasses and asked softly. Yi Xian nodded. Teacher Ren, that group of thugs extorted protection money from Su Kexin, so I was forced to defend myself properly. Upon hearing this, a few approving glimmers flashed in Baiqing's beautiful eyes. This student is not only diligent and studious, but also stood up at a critical moment and risked his life to do the right thing, which really made her shine. Yi Xian, it's good that you were brave and should be praised, but the punks you offended have caused you trouble. And Baiqing said with mixed emotions, the leader of this group of punks is Li Meng, the person in charge of Longhu group in Shenyuan district. Li Meng directly issued a threat, saying that you should come to him voluntarily to be punished, otherwise he will cause trouble for the school. A few punks like these actually dare to threaten the school. It seems that the influence of this Longhu group in the local area far exceeds his imagination. These people are so hateful, they really have a lot of nerve. Yi Xian looked at Baiqing with indignation, and then asked tentatively, Teacher Ren, what is the school's attitude? They're not going to hand me over, are they? Seeing Yi Xian's nervous expression, Baiqing reassured him, the headmaster knows about this matter, and has told you to stay in school and not go out. Principal Jiang is going to call Longhu group to apologize and see if he can keep this matter under wraps. And Baiqing was also curious as to why Principal Jiang would attach such importance to a student. Alas, I have caused trouble for the school. Yi Xian shook his head sadly and said, Teacher Ren, this matter started because of me, and I cannot involve everyone else. I plan to go find Li Meng personally and resolve this matter once and for all, to protect the safety of the teachers and students of the school. Where is the headquarters of Longhu group in Shenyuan district? I'm going to go find Li Meng right now. Yi Xian said with a face that looked death in the eyes. And Baiqing was also moved, took a deep breath, and said solemnly. Student Ji, the teacher really admires your bravery, but you can't go alone on this one. The teacher will go with you. A few minutes later, Yi Xian rode the cool little electric moped, with the peerless beautiful teacher riding behind him, and in the shocked and envious gaze of the male students along the way, he rushed out of the school gate. At that time, not far from the school, the Buckingham Club. In a luxurious private room, Li Meng was smiling as he poured wine for an elderly man. Brother Hu and the others stood respectfully to one side. Elder Su, how have you considered taking me as your disciple? Li Meng asked with a smile. Elder Su is a descendant of the Baji boxing school, and his ancestors were martial arts scholars. He is famous throughout the city for his extraordinary martial arts skills, and the owners of several martial arts schools are his disciples. Just as Su was about to speak, the door to the box was suddenly pushed open, and one of his subordinates rushed in, nervously saying, Mr. Li, there are people outside causing trouble. They want to see you by name. Li Meng frowned, extremely displeased, and said, How many are there? 2, a man and a woman. 2? What do they look like? The subordinate hurriedly said, the woman has long legs in black stockings and a great figure. What about the man? The man? I didn't look at the man. Chapter 15, please watch a small program. Outside the door of the Buckingham Club. Yi Xian surveyed the resplendent entertainment club, slightly narrowing his eyes. This Longhu group is quite wealthy. It seems that Brotherhood's thugs are just the lowest level members. Yi Xian stopped the small electric moped while saying to Baiqing, Teacher, there is some danger in the Buckingham Club, so why don't I go in first and you stay outside? If I can't get out, you call the police. And Baiqing could not help but feel touched when she saw that Yi Xian was protecting her. However, she thought to herself that what Yi Xian said made sense. In case of danger, she could still call the police if she stayed outside, but if both of them got trapped, they would really be dead. Student Yi, please be careful. If you don't come out in half an hour, I'll call the police. And Baiqing said with a serious face. Don't worry, Missin, this is a society ruled by law. I will reason with them, and they shouldn't make things difficult for me. Yi Xian gave a faint smile, turned with a heroic air and walked towards the clubhouse door. The moment he turned, Yi Xian's expression changed, and a cold murderous gleam flashed in his eyes. This is ridiculous, a mere 18th tier force actually wants him to apologize? This is just looking for death. Student Yi, I'll wait for you to come out. Looking at Yi Xian's back, and Baiqing couldn't help but call out. Although Yi Xian is just a college student, he is very brave and has a sense of justice, which makes her admire and feel distressed at the same time. At this moment, a feeling of sadness welled up in her heart, and she silently prayed, Yi Xian, you must come out safely, otherwise, as your teacher, I will never feel at ease in this life. The security guards at the door were jealous when they saw Yi Xian riding a small electric bicycle to the door and carrying a beautiful woman. Before Yi Xian could even enter the door, 7 or 8 tall and powerful men surrounded him in the middle, fierce and menacing, as if they wanted to devour him alive. Yi Xian sneered with disdain. He had experienced mountains of corpses and seas of blood, with countless white bones beneath his feet. These few punks in front of him actually wanted to scare him, how presumptuous. His imposing aura exuded a surging murderous intent that instantly surged outwards, and the temperature around him suddenly dropped. The several arrogant men who were still bragging just now suddenly had their faces change, and they hurriedly took a few steps back. It wasn't until Yi Xian walked into the door that they suddenly came to their senses, their backs covered in sweat. Walking up to the front desk, Yi Xian slapped the table and said, Tell Li Meng to get out here. Who are you? The beautiful woman at the front desk looked up and glanced. Yunhai University, Yi Xian. A college student? The receptionist sneered, mocking him, so arrogant, and you're just a student. Do you know what kind of place this is? Before long, Brother Tiger hurried over with a few of his men. He recognized Yi Xian at a glance and sneered, You've come here to be punished, haven't you? Yi Xian ignored him and asked, Where's Li Meng? Do you think you're worthy to see Mr. Li? Now come with me upstairs, kneel before Mr. Li, and then cut off one of your hands, and you can go. Boom! Before Brother Tiger could finish his sentence, Yi Xian suddenly struck, knocking his head against the wall. Brother Tiger felt as if his head was about to explode, blood running down his forehead. His vision swirled, and he fainted with a thud. There was a gasp in the hall. Seeing Yi Xian hit someone, the Buckingham security guards all came over at once, dozens of them, surrounding him. President Li is here. With a shout, the crowd made way for an aisle, and Li Meng walked with a stern face, followed by Su Lao. Yi Xian glanced up, looking extremely calm. Are you Li Meng? Heh, you have a lot of nerve, barging into Buckingham Club and injuring my men, and you still dare to be so calm. Have you had enough? Li Meng said with a stern face. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and said, I have been here at your club for so long, but no one has ever offered me tea or water, not even a small program to entertain me. Your sense of service is not good. Upon hearing this, Li Meng sneered, You want to watch a show, right? Attack me all together. Kill him. Li Meng gave the order, and dozens of big men in black, armed with clubs, rushed towards Yi Xian in unison. Yi Xian gave a cold smile, exuding a strong murderous aura from his body. The aura of the god of killing from the underworld was revealed in all its sharpness at this moment. Bang bang bang. Yi Xian did not hold back at all when he made his move. He punched, kicked, and elbowed. It was like a primitive and bloody dance, containing a cruel and violent aesthetic. In just a few minutes, there were already dozens of black-clad men lying on the ground, all of them pale, with blood at the corners of their mouths, and unconscious. There was only one left, looking at Yi Xian with fear all over his face. This is not a fight on the same level. This man is terrifying. Under the cold gaze of this man, the last security guard could not help but tremble. Yi Xian sneered, "Do you want to do it yourself, or should I help you?" Without the slightest hesitation, the security guard raised the iron rod and smashed it against his own head, then fainted. Li Meng's face turned ugly. "President Li, you seem surprised that I'm still standing?" Yi Xian sneered. "This is impossible," Li Meng exclaimed in surprise. "President Li, the program you arranged for me is really amazing." Yi Xian sneered, saying, "As the saying goes, if you don't return the favor, it's impolite. I also have to return the favor with a little program of my own." His heart sank, and Li Meng's face turned ugly. He hurriedly backed up and cast a look of help towards Master Su. "Master, you have to step in." Master Su slowly walked forward, his gloomy gaze sweeping Yi Xian once. "Kid, I am Su Yongsheng, the successor of the Baiqing martial art. Li Meng is my new disciple. On my behalf, how about we call it a day today?" Yi Xian gave a faint smile. "I don't think so. This is ridiculous, a martial arts master from Yunhai City, and he actually wants Yi Qijian to give him face. Is that even possible? Ungrateful." Master Su had been arrogant from the start, but he had the arrogance to back it up. In the literary world, Tai Chi pacifies the world, and in the martial arts world, Baji determines the fate of the world. As the successor of Baiqing, he has experienced dozens of duels, big and small, and has never been defeated. His reputation and strength far exceed those of ordinary martial artists. Seeing that Yi Xian is not giving him face, Lao Su is even more furious. He stomps his foot and his figure rushes forward, determined to teach this arrogant brat a lesson. He slams out a punch, so fast that an ordinary person cannot see it with their eyes. Even Li Meng is shocked. Yi Xian's mouth curled up into a sneer, and his right hand lifted up slowly before suddenly pressing down. Wow! The two figures interlocked. Su Yongsheng's fist grazed past Yi Xian, and his punch missed. Immediately afterwards, a tremendous force fell from above, and Yi Xian's right hand pressed down heavily on his head. He lost control of his entire body, and his head smashed heavily onto the ground, instantly cracking the marble slab into spiderweb-like fissures. Boom! The loud sound of the impact was like a drum roll. The room fell silent. There was not a sound, except for the slight sound of someone gasping for air. "Master!" Li Meng finally came back to his senses and hurriedly ran over to help Su Laoren up, his face full of fear. He knew Su Laoren's strength very well. This was a high-level expert whom the chairman of the board had spent a lot of money to invite back, but in front of Yi Xian, Su Laoren was completely unable to defend himself. Chapter 16, This person is unpredictable. Who exactly are you? Lao Su stumbled to his feet and looked at Yi Xian with great gravity. Me? Yi Xian's pupils were surging with murderous intent. I'm someone you can't afford to mess with. Thank you for not killing me. Lao Su was drenched in sweat. He had practiced martial arts for half his life, and had never been so close to death. He turned to Li Meng and whispered, "This person is unpredictable, don't offend him, and save your life first." Li Meng's face twitched, and just as he was about to say something, Lao Su hurriedly turned around and left. Li Meng turned around and just happened to meet Yi Xian's gaze full of a mischievous smile. "Mr. Li, were you enjoying the show just now? I have an even more enjoyable show for you. The first show is called Breaking Boulders with Your Chest." Li Meng gritted his teeth, looking as if he was not afraid of the boiling water. "You think this can scare me? Even if I die, even if I am crushed to pieces, I will never admit defeat." Yi Xian laughed and patted him on the shoulder. "Mr. Li, don't be silly, I'm just giving you a little show, relax." Wow! Yi Xian lifted the 100-pound marble coffee table top with one hand. "What are you trying to do?" Li Meng's eyes widened. This guy is lifting a marble slab weighing over 100 kilograms with one hand. Is this guy even human? He's like a mannequin. Now that I have the slab, I just need a chest. "Mr. Li, I'm sure you won't mind lending me your chest, will you?" "No." Li Meng's body trembled. "If you don't want to lend it to me, does that mean you look down on me? I may be just a student, but I have self-respect. If you make me angry, I might just change the name of the game from Break the Slab on the Chest to Break the Slab on the Head," Yi Xian said seriously. A few seconds later, Li Meng was lying on the ground in a state of shock. Yi Xian placed the stone slab on his chest. The slab weighed more than 100 pounds and pressed down so hard that his face turned red. Yi Xian gave a faint smile. Mr. Li, relax, don't be nervous. The next second, Yi Xian clenched his 5 fingers into a fist and smashed down with a punch. There was a muffled sound of a thud. The 10-centimeter thick marble slab was smashed to pieces by this punch, and the stone debris scattered all over the floor. Li Meng was completely dumbfounded. If such a fierce punch were to hit him, he would definitely fare even worse than the shattered slab. He suddenly felt an urge to pee. President Li, this is breaking the stone with your chest. Isn't this show quite exciting? Yi Xian sneered. It's wonderful, very wonderful. Aren't you going to applaud? Yi Xian's face suddenly fell. Clap, clap, clap. Li Meng hurriedly applauded loudly. Next, I'll show you a fierce move, a long-lost stunt in the arena called chicken flying and eggs broken. Yi Xian raised an eyebrow. Chicken flying and eggs broken? Li Meng's heart skipped a beat. That's right. The so-called chicken flying and eggs broken means that I'll be blindfolded, take a steel pipe, and swing it hard. Guess if it's chicken flying or eggs broken. Yi Xian casually picked up a steel pipe and smiled. Mr. Li, I've never been lucky, so I can't guess right. You might have to bear with it a little longer. Good boy, spread your legs. Li Meng couldn't hold on any longer, his crotch was wet and smelled like urine. You don't like chicken flying and eggs breaking? Then I'll just perform a good show for you. Li Meng couldn't hold on any longer and cried out, begging for mercy. Big brother Yi, I was wrong, I'll never dare to trouble your school again. I don't want the money, and I don't want you to apologize. Just let me go. Yi Xian sneered, is that all? Li Meng hurriedly said, I will give your school 2 million yuan as a scholarship. And then I will apologize to your principal for threatening your school. Yi Xian nodded, then frowned. Li, I'm very happy that you're setting up a scholarship for the school, but after watching my performance, don't you want to show your appreciation? Li Meng suddenly realized what was going on and hurriedly wrote a check, respectfully saying, this is 1 million, please take it, Mr. Yi. Pop. Yi Xian slapped Li Meng away with a slap. 1 million? Do you think I'm here to beg for food? Li Meng trembled with fear and said in shock, I missed a zero. It's 10 million. Yi Xian took the check and sneered, since you insist on giving it to me, I can't let you down. I'll reluctantly accept the 10 million. Li Meng's face twitched, and he cursed Yi Xian in his heart for being shameless, but he didn't dare show it. He respectfully saw Yi Xian to the door of the clubhouse. Damn it, what bad luck! Li Meng cursed, but then his phone rang. A voice came from the other end. Brother Li, get me someone. Recognizing Sun Jie's voice, Li Meng did not rush to answer, but asked, what's going on? I was beaten by a freshman from Yunhai University. I can't swallow this. You have to help me. Upon hearing this, Li Meng snorted, another Yunhai University student. The students at this school have been very arrogant lately. He was just looking for somewhere to vent, but the other person happened to be a student at Yunhai University, which happened to hit the nail on the head. Come over for dinner tonight, and let's discuss it. Outside the clubhouse. Seeing Yi Xian safely walk out of the clubhouse, and Baiqing's heart finally settled down. She walked up to him, very excited, and said with concern, Classmate Yi, are you okay? Yi Xian gave a slight smile and said, don't worry, teacher, I'm fine. After entering the door, Li Meng invited me to drink tea and chat. I heard that he was a law student, so I gave him a general introduction to legal knowledge. He was particularly remorseful, particularly regretful, particularly grateful, and very enthusiastically performed a wonderful program for me. Wait. You gave them a lecture on the law? And Baiqing swallowed hard, her face full of surprise. Shengshi Group was notorious for its evil deeds in Yunhai City, so how could those people listen to Yi Xian give a lecture on the law? Not only did they listen to Yi Xian give a lecture on the law, they also performed a show enthusiastically? Why didn't she believe it? It was just as ridiculous as the demon capturing Tang Monk, and Tang Monk giving the demon a lecture on Buddhism, the demon being moved to tears and stewing itself as a side dish for Tang Monk to drink with. Teacher, you don't believe me? Yi Xian pointed at the main entrance of the Buckingham Club and said, if you don't believe me, I'll call Li Meng out and let him perform another show for you. No. And Baiqing felt a chill in her heart and quickly pulled Yi Xian away. Since the matter was resolved, let's go back to school. Teacher, sit on top yourself. Yi Xian took hold of Baiqing's hand. And Baiqing's heart pounded, and she subconsciously glanced at Yi Xian, only to see that he was completely calm and had no idea that he was holding the female teacher's hand. She couldn't help but blush. And Baiqing, what are you thinking? Student Ji is an innocent and good student. Chapter 17, and Baiqing is in danger. Yi Xian rode his small electric bicycle and brought in Baiqing to the university entrance. Can you let me off first, Yi Xian? And Baiqing lifted her hair from her forehead and her face was slightly embarrassed. Yi Xian was stunned and looked aggrieved. Teacher, is it because my electric bicycle is so old that it's embarrassing for you? No. And Baiqing was afraid that Yi Xian would think too much, so she quickly explained, I was afraid that if other people saw us so close to each other, they would say that you have feelings for me. But I already have feelings for you, Yi Xian said seriously. Hearing these words from Yi Xian, and Baiqing's heart trembled. She really thought that Yi Xian had evil intentions towards her, but Yi Xian continued, I originally wanted to protect you, the school, and everyone. And Baiqing was at a loss for words. Looking at Yi Xian's serious expression, she couldn't help but feel ashamed of her own thoughts. Teacher, Yi Xian. A shout came from behind, and Lin Wan'er and Su Kexin came running over, panting. Lin Wan'er grabbed Yi Xian's arm and said, flustered, Boss, you're dead. Sun Jie is going to use the family's power against you. Student Ji, I'm sorry. If you hadn't helped me, you wouldn't have offended Sun Jie. Su Kexin grabbed Yi Xian's other arm and held it tightly against her chest, looking pitiful. With Lin Wan'er on the left and Su Kexin on the right, and in Baiqing behind them, Yi Xian was over the moon. College life was really wonderful. And Baiqing heard what the two girls said and asked suspiciously, what's going on? Hasn't Sun Jie been dealt with already? Teacher, I'm afraid you don't know that the head of the teaching department, Xiao Pang, not only didn't expel Sun Jie, but also wanted to expel Yi Xian. Sun Jie also made it known that he wanted Yi Xian to disappear from Yunhai University. Su Kexin looked at herself with remorse. She had always thought that it was because of her that Yi Xian had offended Sun Jie, and she had felt guilty about it for a long time. Director Zhao has gone too far, this is outrageous. And Baiqing frowned slightly. She had always had a bad impression of the head of the teaching department, Xiao Pang. As early as when she first started working here, Xiao Pang sent her flowers every other day, and once even professed his love for her in public downstairs at her house, only to be firmly rejected. Since then, Xiao Pang has repeatedly caused her trouble, but she has endured it. She just never expected that Xiao Pang would bully her student. Student Ji, don't worry, I'll go talk to Xiao Pang. And Baiqing said as she hurried towards the guidance office. Lin Wan'er said with a sad face, Boss, you better run for your life. I've already arranged a boat to take you to northern Myanmar tonight. Northern Myanmar? Yi Xian almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. Lin Wan'er, I admit that I have wronged you in the past, but you can't be so cruel to me. I'm not going anywhere. Yi Xian shrugged and said, I'm righteous, so what's there to fear? Lin Wan'er sighed and shook her head. Boss is very impressive, but he underestimated Sun Jie's methods. Boss, you underestimated Sun Jie too much. The biggest characteristic of this person is 2 words. Despicable. Anyone he sets his sights on will have a miserable end, not to mention the fact that you made him lose face in public. He won't let you go. He will at least break your arms and legs, or even take your life. By the way, Sun Jie's father, Sun Longhu, is the chairman of the Longhu group. Su Kexin was terrified after hearing this, and her pretty face gradually turned pale. If Sun Jie really wanted to take revenge, wouldn't Yi Xian be in danger? Yi Xian, it's all my fault. Su Kexin felt a wave of self-blame. Yi Xian took Su Kexin's hand and gently stroked the school beauty's jade-like hand. His gaze was firm as he said, the princess's mission is to live a happy life, the knight's mission is to protect happiness. To bear without complaint is the courage of a knight. Su Kexin was stunned on the spot. Oh my god. Is Yi Xian going to be the knight who protects her? Su Kexin's eyes suddenly reddened. Yi Xian's image grew taller and taller in her heart. Let's think about how to get through this first. Yi Xian looked at Lin Wan'er and said, what kind of person is the head of the teaching department, Xiao Pang? Lin Wan'er said, I heard that he is a lecherous old man. Over the years, he has taken advantage of his position to take advantage of many young and pretty female teachers. Upon hearing this, Su Kexin suddenly exclaimed. Oh no! Teacher has gone to the guidance office alone. Is she in danger? You two go find Principal Zhang, I'll go to the guidance office. Yi Xian gave a few orders and quickly walked towards the guidance office. Meanwhile, inside the guidance office, and Baiqing pushed the door open. Teacher, is there something you need? Xiao Pang sat on the sofa, crossed his legs, and adjusted his glasses as he looked at Baiqing with a smile in his eyes. I'm here about a student. Is Director Zhao free? Baiqing asked. Yes, of course I'm free. Xiao Pang laughed coldly, got up, slammed the office door shut, and then locked it. Baiqing nervously took a step back. Director Zhao, what do you mean? Chapter 18, A Difficult Request. Don't be so formal, I'm not a tiger. Teacher, come a little closer so I can take a good look. Xiao Pang pulled Baiqing over. Baiqing's eyebrows furrowed slightly. She was disgusted by Xiao Pang's rudeness, but just thinking about Yi Xian, she had to force a smile. Director Zhao, I want to ask you for a favor regarding my student. Ah, your figure is really getting better and better. Xiao Pang looked at the charming Baiqing, his lecherous eyes lighting up, and he took a step forward, his mouth curving up in a smile as he stared at her. We're all adults here, so let's cut the crap. Your student's situation is very serious, and she'll be expelled. But if you meet my demands, I can go easy on her. What demands? Baiqing swallowed. She could guess what Xiao Pang would demand, but as long as the conditions weren't too excessive, she was willing to sacrifice herself to help Yi Xian. Starting today, you must be available to keep me company whenever I call. Baiqing frowned. Keep you company for what? Seeing how pretty you are, of course you'll be my little dog and sleep with me. Xiao Pang gave a wicked smile. Is there a problem? He narrowed his lecherous eyes and swept them wantonly over Baiqing's full breasts, unabashed in his desire to toy with women. Director Zhao, I'm sorry, but I won't be calling on you for this. Without waiting for Xiao Pang to speak, Baiqing's face suddenly fell. I am a teacher, not a prostitute. If it weren't for the fact that this is a school, Baiqing would have slapped him across the face for his obscene words. Baiqing. Xiao Pang frowned upon seeing this. You can only come to me for this matter. No one but me can help you, I am your last hope. What's wrong with keeping me company? Women are just like that anyway, what are you pretending for? Baiqing took a step back. Xiao Pang, you've gone too far. So what if I've gone too far? Xiao Pang grinned evilly, full of arrogance. What are you going to do about it? After saying that, he suddenly stepped forward. I've never been unable to get a woman into bed. Xiao Pang walked towards Baiqing with a sneer, reaching out to touch her face. Bang! At that moment, the office door was kicked open. Yi Xian had been outside the door and heard the two men's conversation. He could tell that Xiao Pang, the old bastard, had taken advantage of his position to harass and assault female colleagues before. Since Xiao Pang had no shame, there was no need for him to put on a good face. He simply walked into the office and stood in front of Xiao Pang in a carefree manner. Hey, Director Zhao, are you too busy molesting your female colleagues? Xiao Pang was a seasoned veteran, and he didn't even blush when Yi Xian exposed him. Don't be ridiculous. I'm not. What? Are you saying that Teacher is too busy molesting you? Yi Xian ran his hand along his chin, thoughtfully, and said, I've only heard of toads wanting to eat swan meat, but never that swans like toads. Ha ha ha. Just then, Baiqing couldn't help but laugh. Seeing this, Xiao Pang froze for a moment, and then he gnashed his teeth in anger. He had been in this position for so many years, and every student who saw him would actively flatter and ingratiate themselves. This kid in front of him actually dared to barge into his office and mock him in front of his face as a toad. Kid, I'll give you a chance. You pretend you didn't hear anything just now, leave 100,000 yuan and get out. I won't fire you. Xiao Pang directly dropped his pretense and snorted. Just then, Yi Xian's phone rang, and he answered, I'm in Director Zhao's office. Director Zhao said he wants to fire me. Hurry up and come over. Upon hearing this, Xiao Pang shook his head coldly and mocked, Kid, no matter who you get to help you, it's useless. Oh? Can't even the principal control you? Xu Xian asked with a fake look of sincerity. Chapter 19, How do you want the teacher to reward you? What are you, Zheng? You can meet with the principal whenever you want? Xiao Pang's mouth curled up in disdain. Do you think the principal will believe an ordinary student like you, or me, the head of the guidance department? I can expel you at any time. Aren't you afraid? Yi Xian was unafraid, and generously said. I'm not afraid. As long as I'm here today, no one can bully Teacherin. Don't be afraid, Missin. Yi Xian took hold of Baiqing's soft hand and said, "Don't be afraid, I'll protect you." And Baiqing bit her red lips, looked at Yi Xian gratefully, and squeezed his hand in response. In a critical moment, Yi Xian bravely stood up to help her fight, risking being expelled. Isn't such a brave and upright man just what she needs? But soon two blushes appeared on her charming face. And Baiqing, what are you thinking? Yi Xian is your student. You're so shameless. How can you be an old bull eating tender grass? But Yi Xian doesn't seem to be young either. What are you arguing about here? Just then, Principal Jiang pushed open the door and strode into the office. Xiao Pang didn't expect the principal to come in person, so he quickly put on an indignant look and snitched first, "Principal Jiang, I have never seen a student with such a corrupt character as Yi Xian." He was jealous of Sun Jie because he was handsome and rich, so he used violent means to send Sun Jie to the hospital. And Baiqing hurriedly stepped forward and bit her silver teeth to defend herself. "That's not true. He's talking nonsense. Teacher, I would like to hear Director Zhao's opinion first." Principal Jiang waved his hand to interrupt in Baiqing's defense, then looked at Xiao Pang. "Director Zhao, what do you think should be done about this matter?" And Baiqing's charming cheeks turned slightly red. She glanced at Xiao Pang, only to see a smug sneer on his face, while Yi Xian looked completely at ease, not showing the slightest sign of nervousness. She sighed quietly to herself, and now she had to take things one step at a time. Xiao Pang glanced at Baiqing triumphantly. What kind of backing could a mere university counselor possibly have against the head of the guidance department? "Bitch, I'm doing you a favor by wanting to sleep with you, but since you don't know how to appreciate it, don't blame me for being rude." Xiao Pang clenched his fists and said excitedly, "Yi Xian has committed many crimes and must be severely punished. On campus, he was vicious and sent his classmates to the hospital. Off campus, he bullied and harassed law-abiding businesses. A student like this should be expelled to satisfy public anger. And Baiqing failed to fulfill her duty as a teacher and is therefore to blame. I suggest that she be expelled as well." Upon hearing this, Principal Jiang's face had completely changed. The anger in his heart could no longer be suppressed, and he snorted coldly, "Xiao Pang, you've done a good job playing the villain first." "What do you mean, Principal?" Xiao Pang's heart lurched, and he suddenly realized that something was wrong. Pat. Principal Jiang slammed a check for 2 million yuan on the table. Pop. Principal Jiang slammed a joint letter with handprints all over it on the table. Stare with your dog eyes and take a good look at these two things. The first thing is a 2 million yuan scholarship that the Buckingham Club has specially set up to thank Yi Xian and donate to the school. The second thing is a joint letter from the witnesses at the playground that night, detailing the incident. Yi Xian is clearly the victim. Principal Jiang's face grew increasingly ugly. He said sternly, "Xiao Pang, do you think I'm that gullible? Do you have any respect for me as the school principal?" Xiao Pang swallowed nervously. He didn't expect things to have developed to this point. It seemed that it was simply impossible to expel Yi Xian today. He could only think of ways to save himself first. "Principal, I was wrong. It's all my fault for listening to one-sided words and almost wronging a good student." Xiao Pang shrunk his neck and forced a wry smile. "I apologize to the two of you." I didn't wait for Xiao Pang to finish speaking. Yi Xian shook his head coldly and shook his phone. "It's not that simple. Shang, listen to this recording." Xiao Pang's lewd voice immediately came out of the phone. "Wow. Teacher In's body is really getting better and better. Seeing you're so pretty, of course you're going to sleep with me. What's wrong with that? I've never been unable to get a woman I like into bed." Before the recording finished playing, Xiao Pang's face had turned as ugly as a pig's liver. Intimidating and bribing a female colleague into bed had already violated the school's bottom line. "Xiao Pang, you bastard." With that, Principal Jiang slapped Xiao Pang in the face, furious, and shouted, "I really was wrong to hire you." "Principal, I." Xiao Pang's face turned white with anxiety. Before he could explain, Principal Jiang pointed directly at the door and yelled, "Starting today, you are no longer the head of the teaching staff. The school happens to be short of a janitor, so you can go sweep the toilets. Get out. I never want to see you again, you animal." Seeing that the principal was really angry, Xiao Pang was really scared, and he didn't dare to say a word. He ran out of the office with an extremely unpleasant expression on his face. Xiao Pang had originally wanted to kill two birds with one stone, first firing Yi Xian and then going out with Baiqing. But he never imagined that in the end he would be sent to clean the toilets. For the head of the teaching staff to go clean the toilets was even more difficult than killing him. Xiao Pang was completely desperate. He couldn't understand why, as the head of the teaching staff, he was being trampled on by Yi Xian. This really infuriates me. It took a while for Principal Zhang to calm down, and he finally apologized, saying apologetically, "Student Ji, I'm really sorry about this. What can the school do for you?" Yi Xian smiled, "I don't mind, but teacher N has suffered so much, the school should compensate her, right?" "Yes, compensation, definitely compensation." Principal Zhang seemed to understand something, and immediately smiled at Baiqing, saying, "Teacher N, the fact that you can bring up such a student fully shows that you are a good teacher." "Thank you, Principal." And Baiqing's pretty face raised an awkward but polite smile. "Bring out such a student? Yi Xian has only been here for a few days, okay." Principal Zhang was in a great mood and said to Baiqing, "And teacher, I remember that you are working on a research project, but you haven't applied for funding yet, have you? Now I will approve you a grant, so you can continue your research." Upon hearing this, Baiqing was full of surprise. She had been preparing for this research project for a long time, but due to her lack of experience, she had never been able to get enough funding, which caused the project to be delayed. But today, because of Yi Xian, the principal even approved the funding. The sudden good news made her extremely happy. "Thank you, Principal." "Don't thank me, you should thank Yi Xian. If Yi Xian wasn't so outstanding, it would be difficult for me to discover that there is such an outstanding teacher in the school." Principal Zhang looked at Yi Xian and saw Yi Xian's satisfied smile. Only then did Principal Zhang feel slightly relieved. "Principal, since Xiao Pang has gone to clean the toilets, why don't we give this vacant office to teacher N for now?" Yi Xian said. "This is a good suggestion. This office will be given to teacher N." Principal Zhang had to attend a meeting right away, so after a few words, he left the office. What Yi Xian didn't expect was that as soon as the principal left, Baiqing pounced on him, exuding a fragrant breeze as she gave him a suffocating hug. Chapter 20, I want you to give me a child. "Yi Xian, what do you want me to reward you with?" A woman's pleasant murmur sounded in his ear, accompanied by a fragrant breeze that almost made Yi Xian intoxicated. Yi Xian wanted to break free, but Baiqing hugged him even tighter. Yi Xian could only feel a flame burning within him, like a volcano about to go out of control, ready to erupt at any moment. Is this the power of the Tianmei body? Yi Xian? Why aren't you saying anything? Ha? And Baiqing blinked her charming watery eyes, and her seductive voice almost made Yi Xian melt. "If I had a reward, I would want you to give me a child," Yi Xian said in a soft voice. Ha? And Baiqing was so excited just now that she not only fired Xiao Pang, but also approved the project funding and even got an independent office, so she couldn't help hugging Yi Xian in excitement. However, she didn't expect Yi Xian to say such a thing, which caught her off guard. She then remembered that Yi Xian was still her student. She quickly let go of Yi Xian, her charming face flushing with a hint of long-lost shyness. "What did you just say?" Yi Xian also controlled his mind at this time, shaking off the influence of Tianmei's body, and said innocently, "I said, if I'm rewarded, can you help me with my homework?" "Oh, I misunderstood." I was startled. And Baiqing quickly patted her chest, relieved. If it were someone else, she would have thought that the other person was molesting her, but Yi Xian is such an upright boy, how could he say such shameless flirtatious things? However, if Yi Xian made that kind of request. And Baiqing's face flushed with 2 red spots, as if she had thought of something wonderful, and her cheeks became increasingly red. "If you need it, I can tutor you." And Baiqing teased her messy hair, which made her look even more charming. "Can you tutor at my house? I usually commute," Yi Xian said. And Baiqing smiled, "Sure, you've helped the teacher so much, of course you can go to your house." "Teacher, you're so nice. Then we have a deal." As soon as he heard that Baiqing was so proactive, Yi Xian would not refuse, and immediately excitedly agreed. In the evening, Baiqing took the initiative to treat him to dinner, and Yi Xian took her to that little northeastern barbecue. The boss, Auntie Sun, couldn't help but feel that this guy had a great love life, as he was always accompanied by beautiful women, and they were never the same. As the two of them ate and chatted, Yi Xian learned that Baiqing was a very motivated woman. Not only did she hold a position at the university, she also had a part-time job outside of school, working as a legal consultant for a company. And Baiqing also assured Yi Xian with a pat on his back that she could help him get an internship at that company, saying that the company had good benefits and many pretty female employees. After the meal, Baiqing suddenly asked, "Yi Xian, What kind of girl do you like? Yi Xian didn't answer, but just smiled meaningfully. And Baiqing didn't say anything, but her face turned red. The next day, early in the morning on the weekend, Jiang Yurong took a shower, put on a pair of tight yoga pants that outlined her perfect figure, and carried a yoga mat with her to the courtyard to do yoga. As soon as she entered the courtyard, Jiang Yurong froze. In the middle of the courtyard, Yi Xian was using his hands to hold up a stone sculpture that was more than a person tall. Jiang Yurong rubbed her eyes to make sure she wasn't mistaken. Yi Xian was actually effortlessly holding up the stone sculpture that guarded the house. This stone sculpture was at least 2 or 3 tons. This kid is getting more and more suspicious. Jiang Yurong twisted her round, pretty buttocks and took a look around Yi Xian, showing an appreciative look. I didn't expect that you are quite manly. Yi Xian glanced at the former's curvy figure wrapped in yoga pants and smiled slightly. You're well capitalized too. But I want to remind you that the camel's toe is showing. Camel's toe? Jiang Yurong was first stunned, then looked down, immediately blushing, and glared at Yi Xian. Don't look around, brat, or I'll gouge your eyes out. Yi Xian helplessly shrugged his shoulders, pointed at the stone phoenix sculpture next to him, and asked, Did you buy this big bird? You have a good eye for birds. This material feels very comfortable. Do you want to touch this big bird? Jiang Yurong gave Yi Xian a disdainful glance and corrected him. This is a stone sculpture to protect the house. It's a sculpture, not a bird. Yi Xian nodded thoughtfully and said, Oh, then do you want to touch this big sculpture? Jiang Yurong gave him a shy and annoyed look and said, I'm ignoring you. I'm going to interview President Wang of Shenyuan Group this morning. If you call me a good sister, I can introduce you to Shenyuan Group for an internship. Shenyuan Group? President Wang? Wang Bait? Yi Xian recalled a memory in his mind and then smiled. A measly Shenyuan Group, it's nothing. Jiang Yurong glanced at Yi Xian when she heard this and didn't bother to talk to him anymore. Shenyuan Group is one of the top few large enterprises in the area. Every year during the university graduation season, there are snowflakes of resumes thrown at Shenyuan Group. And that Mr. Wang of Shenyuan Group is even a big shot in the area, and it is difficult for ordinary people to even meet him. Yi Xian is an ordinary college student, but he actually said that Shenyuan Group is nothing special. Could it be that he is even more awesome than Mr. Wang of Shenyuan Group? She didn't take it seriously either, thinking that Yi Xian was just bragging. Jiang Yurong had just left the house when she saw a brand new Audi A6 pull up. The door opened and a young man in a suit and smart attire got out. The young man smiled slightly and opened the door on his own initiative. Yurong, you're going to Shenyuan Group, right? Take my car. Jiang Yurong cautiously sized up the other person and keenly sensed that something was wrong. Jangu, I'm going to interview Shenyuan Group's President Wang. What are you doing? Oh, you don't know yet. This time the TV station arranged for me to go with you. How is this possible? This is an exclusive interview that I have worked hard to get. Jiang Yurong's eyebrows furrowed slightly. Don't forget, my father is the deputy director. Jangu leaned against the car door and looked at Jiang Yurong arrogantly. Now get in the car immediately, or don't blame me for being rude. You're hijacking the interview halfway. You're shameless. Jiang Yurong clenched her fists and her eyes brimmed with tears. In the beginning, she went to Shenyuan Group countless times to get the exclusive interview with Wang Tianba, and suffered countless looks of contempt. When all her efforts finally paid off, she was cut off by Jangu, a family friend. Ever since she first arrived at the TV station, Jangu had expressed his admiration and paid her compliments every day, but Jiang Yurong hated this kind of rich playboy who went to bars and nightclubs every day and knew nothing, so she rejected him without hesitation. Since then, Jangu has repeatedly caused her trouble. I just didn't expect Jangu to go this far this time. So what if I'm shameless? It's your fault for not being the deputy station manager. Jangu swept his gaze over Jiang Yurong, licked his lips, and sneered, Get in my car and be my woman. I'll take care of you from now on. What do you say? You're using the hidden rules. Yes, I'm going to use the hidden rules on you. What's wrong? Jangu suddenly opened his arms and embraced Jiang Yurong. Chapter 21, She's really gone all out. Pop. Before Jangu could pounce, he suddenly received a hard slap in the face. Jiang Yurong was about to turn around, but saw Yi Xian walking over, and he arrogantly embraced her waist. Who are you? Jangu covered his face and surveyed Yi Xian. Are you blind? Can't you tell? I'm her boyfriend. No way. Jiang Yurong doesn't have a boyfriend. Stop pretending. Jiang Yu snorted in contempt, thinking that he was trying to shield her from the arrows. Ridiculous. Yi Xian smiled. You're right, technically I'm not her boyfriend, I'm just her friend with benefits. Keep lying. Jiang Yu obviously didn't believe him. Jiang Yurong was famous in the company for being aloof and indifferent to all kinds of boys' advances. She didn't even have a boyfriend, so how could she have a playboy friend? Yi Xian opened a photo on his phone and handed it to Jiang Yu. If you don't believe me, take a look for yourself. In the photo, Jiang Yurong was lying on the floor of a hotel, her shapely body wrapped in a blanket, showing off her S-line to the fullest, her pretty face with a hint of melancholy. Jiang Yurong was stunned. Wasn't this the night at the hotel? Yi Xian, that brat, actually took a photo of her without her knowledge. Jiang Yu's face grew redder and redder. This angle, this environment, this pose. This kid is really Jiang Yurong's boyfriend? Fuck. Jiang Yu was so angry that he felt like a dagger had been thrust into his heart, spurting blood. He looked at Jiang Yurong with a sense of resignation, then at Yi Xian, and said, holding back his anger, Kid, who the hell are you? Me? Yi Xian shrugged, I'm just an ordinary college student. An ordinary college student? Jiang Yu's worldview was once again devastated. Jiang Yurong would rather sleep with an ordinary college student than give this rich kid a chance? Yi Xian looked at the other person with disgust and mocked. What's there to be surprised about? Yurong has had a lot of fun, and she's taught me a lot, you can't be unaware of that, can you? Ah, you haven't even held Yurong's hand, have you? Oh dear, you're so pitiful. Not at all concerned about Jiang Yu's jealous glare that could kill, Yi Xian got on his little electric moped, patted the seat. Baby, get on yourself. I'm driving. Jiang Yurong was angry and ashamed, but she couldn't explain, so she had to sit on it with a red face. You guys have been useless in the past. Shenyuan Group only recognizes TV stations, not people. Without me, President Wang won't accept your interview. Jiang Yu roared from behind. Who said we were going to Shenyuan Group? We're going to KFC. Yi Xian rode his little electric moped and disappeared with Jiang Yurong around the corner. KFC? A hotel room? Jiang Yu stood in one place, his expression was incredibly wonderful. His eyes were wide open, his mouth wide open, and his face was red. He was the son of the deputy director of the TV station, the envy of the rich, and yet he was actually outdone by a college student. The psychological humiliation was even more suffocating than the physical pain. Jiang Yurong, you just wait. Jiang Yu gritted his teeth, his eyes full of malice and resentment. Yi Xian, thank you. Jiang Yurong thanked from the electric car. You're welcome. You're the woman I slept with, of course I'll protect you. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes, braking several times on the road. Jiang Yurong rubbed against him intentionally or unintentionally. It was really comfortable, warm and soft. What are you sleeping for? If you mention it again, I'll kill you. Jiang Yurong's face turned red with shame. Let's stop by the roadside, I want to go back. You're not going to interview Shenyuan Group anymore? Yi Xian asked. No. Jiang Yu has already beaten me to it, and Wang Tianba won't give me an interview. Jiang Yurong sighed after getting out of the car. Yi Xian looked completely unconcerned. Don't worry, as long as I personally intervene, Wang Tianba will definitely obediently give you an interview. You can ask him for the password to his bank card, and he'll tell you honestly. Jiang Yurong was amused by Yi Xian and laughed, covering her mouth. Who do you think you are? Chairman of the Shenyuan Group? There is a chairman above Wang Tianba, the president of Shenyuan Group, but this chairman is so mysterious that he has never appeared in any public place, and no one knows what he looks like. Anyone who can control such a large enterprise can guess with their fingers that they are definitely an important person from the upper class. How could it be an ordinary student like Yi Xian? Congratulations, you guessed it right, I am. Yi Xian nodded seriously. If you really are, I'll really treat you like a friend. Jiang Yurong pouted. Jiang Yurong, you said it yourself. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. If you want to fight, then let's fight. In a moment, Yi Xian arrived at the front door of the Shenyuan Group. At a glance, he saw a magnificent building standing, much taller than the surrounding buildings, standing out on its own. The security guard came over and said curiously, Brother, it doesn't look like you work at Shenyuan Group, does it? Although the security guard had only been working for a short time, the employees at Shenyuan Group all dressed in suits and formal wear. It was the first time he had seen someone in casual wear like Yi Xian entering the company building. Yi Xian said, "I don't work here. Wang Tianba is my younger brother. I'm here to inspect his work." The security guard heard this and gave Yi Xian a look, unable to suppress a sneer. President Wang of Shenyuan Group is a well-known local big shot. He is usually surrounded by dignitaries, and it is difficult for ordinary people to even meet him. Yi Xian is young, but he actually said that President Wang is his junior. Could it be that Shenyuan Group is his, and that he is the chairman of Shenyuan Group? How could that be? If he had his way, he would also like to say that he is the Secretary General of the United Nations. He brags without any restraint. You cannot go in. Hey! Where is he? The security guard looked around, but Yi Xian was nowhere to be seen. Yi Xian walked to the front desk in the lobby and said to the receptionist, "Please inform Wang Tianba that someone is looking for him and ask him to come down." The receptionist froze upon hearing Yi Xian's words. She racked her brains for a long time, but couldn't think of any employee of the group named Wang Tianba. She gave an apologetic smile and said, "Sir, can you tell me his department and position?" "Oh, he is the president of the group." As soon as she said this, the receptionists at the front desk looked over in surprise, with mixed expressions on their faces. The receptionist who had received Yi Xian was even more enlightened, and it was only then that she reacted to who Wang Tianba was. Wasn't he the president of their Shenyuan Group? Who was Wang Tianba? He was a big shot in the local business community. Although his position in the group was only president, the mysterious chairman had never appeared, so in actual fact he was the head of Shenyuan Group. Every day, countless dignitaries come to the company to pay their respects, but Wang Tianba refuses to meet with them all, let alone Yi Xian, a young man dressed in ordinary clothes, who is not there to pay his respects, but to get Wang Tianba to come down and see him. This is a bit much. Sorry, our CEO is very busy and is currently being interviewed by a reporter. Moreover, our CEO never meets with guests without an appointment. Although the receptionist felt a bit strange, she still maintained her due courtesy when she saw Yi Xian's serious expression. "Don't worry about it, just tell him my surname is Yi and he will come down to see me," Yi Xian said. The receptionist hesitated for a moment, worried that Yi Xian was really an important guest of the company and afraid of delaying things, so she nodded and said, "Then please wait a moment, I will call the assistant to the president to report." As soon as the phone call was finished, a charming woman wearing a wrap skirt walked out of the elevator. Chapter 22: The Boss's Boss. Sun Jie. The receptionists greeted Su Lei as she walked in. Su Lei had also been a receptionist before, but thanks to her perfect figure and aggressive style, she had climbed into Wang Tianba's bed and got a promotion, becoming his personal secretary. She glanced at Yi Xian in his casual clothes and frowned slightly. "Who wants to see President Wang?" "Him?" The receptionist even told her what had just happened. "Are you kidding me? President Wang is extremely busy and is currently giving an exclusive interview to the media, and you want him to come down and meet a poor student? President Wang usually meets with dignitaries, so how would he know this poor student? Where is your brain? Forget it, you're not suited for this job, go to the finance department and collect your wages and leave." The receptionist was extremely aggrieved, her eyes brimming with tears. Yi Xian frowned. What did this receptionist do wrong? You came up and accused her, and you called me a liar. Is this how the senior management of Xian Group does business? Yi Xian's rebuttal left Su Lei speechless. Su Lei quickly came back to her senses and sneered. "Little brother, I've seen a lot of people like you. To be honest, you are just a bunch of opportunists who want to try their luck. People like Mr. Wang, who are from the upper class, are a presence that you will never be able to touch in your entire life. There are countless people scrambling to curry favor with him, and you are no different." Su Lei crossed her arms and said arrogantly. Yi Xian said indifferently, "How did you know that I don't know Wang Tianba?" "Ah, that's easy. Just look at what you're wearing. I've never seen any of Mr. Wang's guests wearing clothes that cost a few hundred yuan." Su Lei sneered. "Whether what I say is true or not, just ask your boss to come here," Yi Xian said. "Our boss is very busy and has no time to waste with people like you. After you're done, just go, don't waste any more time here," Su Lei said disdainfully. Very busy? I'll see how busy he is. I'll tell him to come over right now." Su Lei sneered. "Interesting, and you want our boss Wang to come here in person? I'll see what you're capable of." You really think you're someone important? You can just call our boss over with one phone call? Yi Xian said indifferently, 2 minutes. If he can't get here within 2 minutes, I'll fire him. I can fire anyone here if I want to. Oh, go ahead, just keep pretending. I'll see how long you can keep it up. Su Lei said with disdain. If General Manager Wang doesn't show up in 2 minutes, don't blame me for having the security guard throw you out. However, just 1 minute had passed when a middle-aged man in a suit and tie came running over. The employees around him immediately stood up respectfully and shouted, "Hello, Mr. Wang." Su Lei was also taken aback when she saw this. Strange, why is Mr. Wang here? Could it be that this kid really called him? No way. What kind of person is the boss? How could he possibly be connected to this poor student? It must just be a coincidence. Thinking this, Su Lei's nervous heart also relaxed. Boss, why are you here? Su Lei asked with a smile. However, Wang Tianba's gaze was not on her at all. He trotted over to Yi Xian and respectfully said, Boss, why are you here? As soon as the words fell, everyone present froze. Su Lei instantly petrified, looking at Yi Xian with her mouth agape. She never would have thought that her boss would call this poor student boss. So does that mean he is his boss's boss? I'm here for an inspection, what? Not welcome? Yi Xian said. Welcome, of course welcome. Wang Tianba smiled, I'm honored that you've come for an inspection in person. You didn't say anything in advance, I didn't even have time to prepare. Yi Xian suddenly interrupted. Do I need to report to you when I do something? Hearing this, Wang Tianba's heart lurched, he knew something was definitely wrong. Boss, which idiot has offended you? Wang Tianba asked cautiously. Yi Xian said indifferently, your secretary said that I was a poor student, that I was not qualified to see you, and that she would have the security guards throw me out. As soon as he finished speaking, pow! Wang Tianba slapped Su Lei's face hard. Idiot, do you know who he is? How dare you say that Yi Xiao is a poor student? Wang Tianba looked more hideous than ever. Kneel down now. You'd better pray that Yi Xiao forgives you, otherwise, I'll kill you. Su Lei was full of fear, and quickly knelt down. Wang Tianba is a businessman and also the top figure in the Yunhai underworld. He has become bigger and bigger by daring to fight and kill, and has reached his current position. Although he has already gone straight and runs a legitimate business, his status has never wavered, and he is on equal footing with Sun Longhu. If Wang Tianba gets angry, he will really kill her. In her panic, she could not imagine what kind of big shot Yi Xian was, and how he could make a giant like Wang Tianba so fearful. A smile appeared on Yi Xian's indifferent face. You have done very well over the years. He was indeed praising Wang Tianba, and he had never expected that in just a few years, Wang Tianba would be able to develop the Shenyuan group to such a state. But Wang Tianba, who heard it, was sweating profusely, thinking that Yi Xian was being ironic. Although he manages Shenyuan group, all the assets belong to Yi Xian. He is just working for Yi Xian, who is the real chairman. Now the chairman is inspecting the group for the first time, but he is blocked at the door by the female secretary. This is slapping the chairman in the face. Thinking about this, Wang Tianba's heart trembled, and in full view of everyone, he suddenly knelt down on one knee. Boss, I'm sorry. The entire audience fell silent. A major figure in the Yunhai city business community, who is famous, has actually kneeled in public. If this gets out, it will definitely be enough to cause a sensation throughout Yunhai city. The others may be shocked, but Wang Tianba and Su Lei, who are kneeling on the ground, can only describe their inner feelings as despair at this moment. Su Lei in particular, her attitude just now was full of arrogance, and she even told the security guard to get Yi Xian out. But now, even President Wang has kneeled before Yi Xian, how could she not be terrified? Yi Xian's gaze fell on Su Lei. Just now, I said that I could fire anyone here, including Wang Tianba. Did you say I was lying? So now, do you believe me? Su Lei's body trembled uncontrollably. She hurriedly cast a pleading glance at Wang Tianba. Wang Tianba, who was normally very kind to her, was now expressionless, not the slightest intention of paying her any mind. Yi Xiao, I was wrong. Su Lei felt a sense of utter despair. The immense pressure brought on by Yi Xian made it difficult for her to breathe. Don't be nervous. Since it's your first offense, I won't do anything to you. Yi Xian glanced at her and said indifferently, but if you do something wrong, you have to accept the punishment. Then, Yi Xian's gaze fell on the receptionist from before. From now on, you take over her position. Shenyuan Group needs employees like you. Chapter 23, 9 stars in a row. Thank you, Yi Xiao. The receptionist was first stunned, and then her eyes filled with tears of excitement. She had originally thought that she was going to be fired, but Yi Xian's words had resulted in her promotion and a pay rise, with her salary increasing several times over. She hurriedly thanked Yi Xian, unable to contain her joy. That's enough, I don't like to be too high profile, clear the area. Yi Xian gave a brief order, then turned and walked out, saying, I need to speak to you alone. Yes. Wang Tianba quickly got up from the ground, looked around at the stunned crowd with cold eyes, and shouted coldly. Remember, Shenyuan Group is named after Yi Xiao. If anyone is reckless again and offends Yi Xiao in the future, I will make his whole family pay with him. Remember? Wang Tianba had a background in the underworld in his early years, and his speech had a very heavy air of the underworld, which made people feel fear. In addition to fear, the crowd was more shocked. This young man in casual clothes, who was only in his 20s, was actually the mysterious chairman of Shenyuan Group. In other words, if Wang Tianba asked for low-key confidentiality, otherwise this news would spread, and the entire Yunhai city business community would change drastically. The two men went to a secluded corner. Yi Xian took out a cigarette, and Wang Tianba, with lightning speed, took out a lighter and lit the cigarette. Yi Xiao, you're finally back. Wang Tianba was an old subordinate of Yi Xian's father. When he was young, he wandered around the capital and offended powerful officials, so he was imprisoned in a concrete tank and almost drowned at sea. Fortunately, Yi Xian's father appeared and not only saved him, but also gave him a sum of money to return to Yunhai City, where he gradually became a local business tycoon. Everything he has today was given to him by the Yi family father and son. The Shenyuan Group will always be Yi Xian's property, and he is just a steward. It's just like him. Looking at the young man in front of him, Wang Tianba was moved to tears. Seeing Yi Xiao, I'm reminded of Mr. Yi. He treated me like a brother. When something happened to Mr. Yi, I couldn't do anything to help. Thinking about the past, Wang Tianba couldn't help but shed tears. A sigh. Yi Xian patted Wang Tianba on the shoulder and said, What about that matter I asked you to investigate? Upon hearing this, Wang Tianba's sad expression gradually faded, and he turned to reveal a ruthless look. Young Master Yi, I have already found out. The night Mr. Yi had an accident, he went to the Yi ancestral shrine with Mrs. Yi. Since then, Mr. Yi has vanished without a trace. After that, on the 49th day of the altar set up by 1,000 monks, there were also strange noises in the Yi ancestral shrine. Wang Tianba clenched his teeth and his fists made a cracking sound. Yi Xiao, you have never been a lonely star, and the deaths of Mr. and Mrs. Yi have nothing to do with you. The truth is hidden in the Yi ancestral shrine. Yi Xian slowly closed his eyes. Time seemed to have come to a standstill. I don't know how long it took before he reopened his eyes, unable to hide the sharpness in his eyes. Looking north, his gaze was like a spear, peerless. He was not a lonely star. The truth is otherwise. One day, I will go to the Yi family in person and clear everything up. Yi Wuji and Yi Fei, watch closely, I will make all of you regret everything you have done. Yi Xian's voice was not loud, but it carried a chilling coldness that seemed to suddenly lower the temperature around him. Upon hearing this, Wang Tianba took a deep breath, his heart in turmoil. In order to enter the ancestral shrine, one must first become the Yi family head, which means that Yi Xian must defeat Yi Wuji at the Yi family conference. Yi Wuji is Yi Xian's second uncle, the current Yi family head, the Yi family's amazing martial arts genius over the past century, and the northern warlord who has swept away the 3 strongest people outside the country. And the Yi family conference is in 1 year. For anyone else, this plan is simply a fantasy, almost suicidal. But this man in front of him might be able to. I told you back then that if you work for me, you must be prepared to face anything. I'm going down a path that defies the heavens. Do you dare to follow me? Yi Xian's eyes became fierce, and his voice was full of an undeniable domineering air. I will follow Yi Xiao to the death. Wang Tianba bowed. I really did not misjudge you. Yi Xian nodded slightly and solemnly commanded. You will continue to manage Shenyuan Group. Within a month, help me rent the highest mountain peak in Yunhai City. During this month, keep a low profile in everything. I don't want to attract too much attention from the outside world and affect my plans. 1 month later, there will be a celestial phenomenon of 9 stars in a row in the sky, which only happens once every 2,000 years on Earth. This is his only chance to break through the 9 heavens star technique. Wang Tianba knew the importance of this matter and quickly nodded, keeping all of this firmly in mind. At this moment, Yi Xian's mouth suddenly curled up in an arc. Right, there's one more thing I want you to do. Underneath Yunhai TV station. Yi Xian, did you really go to Shenyuan group and cause trouble? Jiang Yurong, dressed in an OL uniform and wearing high heels, hurried over. Yes, why? Yi Xian smiled. Seeing Yi Xian's calm appearance, Jiang Yurong felt helpless. Just now, the TV station reported that Zhang Yu's exclusive interview with President Wang had been interrupted due to a sudden disturbance caused by someone from Shenyuan group. For a business tycoon like President Wang, time is precious and is measured in seconds. If this interview doesn't happen, there won't be another one. Not to mention that Zhang Yu has already found out that the person causing trouble is Yi Xian. Zhang Yu has already returned to the TV station and is complaining to the station manager. Rotten kid, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job. Jiang Yurong sighed, already able to guess what the outcome would be when she got back. Just as she was daydreaming, Yi Xian took out a USB flash drive and slipped it into Jiang Yurong's hands. Don't worry, I won't let you lose your job, otherwise who will pay my rent? With this USB flash drive, you just need to show it to the TV station leaders, and they will definitely give you a promotion and a pay rise. Jiang Yurong was convinced, looking at the USB flash drive in her hands with disgust, and said, "What's on it? Please don't mess with me, I can't take any more shocks." Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and laughed. This contains the exclusive interview with Wang Tianba, and oh yes, the exclusive interview with the chairman of Shenyuan Group. Puff! Jiang Yurong almost choked on her own saliva. She stared at the young man in front of her, trying earnestly to see if he was joking. But he was being incredibly serious. Damn it! This landlord of mine is a strange one. He just takes a USB flash drive and dares to say it contains an exclusive interview with President Wang. It's sheer fantasy. At this moment, Jiang Yurong's good feelings towards Yi Xiangang immediately disappeared. Hey, he's still a younger brother after all. I know you want to save face, but there's no need to do this. I'm not blaming you, but I hope you can grow up and stop pulling pranks like this. With that, I went back to work. Chapter 24, A Swift Reversal. The atmosphere in the conference room was exceptionally heavy. The highest-rated program on the TV station was a series of character interviews, and the episode had been announced a long time ago. Now that the interview had failed, how would they explain it to the public? Jiang Yurong sat in the corner of the conference room, scanning the room with her eyes. She noticed that the TV station's executives were all here, and without exception, they all had pale faces. Sigh. Jiang Yurong sighed, took out the USB flash drive that Yi Xian had given her, and there was a sticky note on it, which said exclusive interview with Shenyuan Group. Just thinking about Yi Xian's determined look, she felt like laughing a little. Yi Xian even told her to show the USB flash drive to the leaders, which really made her speechless. The leaders of the TV station were all angry, and bringing out such an inexplicable USB flash drive would only make her situation worse. That brat, his character is good, but he is a bit whimsical. Jiang Yurong muttered. Hey, Jiang Yurong, you're still thinking about that brat, looking like you've lost your mind. Suddenly, a mocking voice sounded in her ear. Jiang Yurong looked in the direction of the sound and saw Zhang Yu's provocative face. She immediately said coldly, "What do you care if I want a man or not?" Zhang Yu gave her a dirty look and deliberately raised his voice. "You make me laugh. You pretend to be so innocent at the TV station every day, but I bet you've already been screwed by countless men." Say that again. Jiang Yurong was furious. I just said it. What's wrong? Hey, what's this? Zhang Yu was just as defiant, but suddenly saw the USB flash drive on the table and grabbed it directly. Give me that back. Jiang Yurong angrily said. She was about to grab it, but Zhang Yu ran away. Oh, so emotional, it seems to be something shameful. Zhang Yu waved the USB stick in a nasty manner, but then suddenly saw a line of words on it, exclusive interview with Shenyuan Group. The next second, Zhang Yu laughed, almost crying with laughter. You're killing me, Jiang Yurong, are you out of your mind? Where did you get this USB stick? It looks like it was written by a man, could it be that the kid gave it to you? You slept with him instead? You're so gullible. Ha ha ha. Everyone in the meeting room looked at Jiang Yurong at the same time, and their eyes all had a slightly different expression. Many people whispered. Jiang Yurong gritted her teeth and said, Zhang Yu, give me back my stuff. Here you go. Jiang Yu sneered, and since it was unlikely that the material was real, he threw it on the floor and stomped on it. Jiang Yurong quickly picked up the USB drive, carefully wiped off the filth on it, and before she could get angry, a middle-aged man walked into the meeting room. Director Wang. Everyone in the meeting room stood up. Director Wang of the TV station is here. Director Wang swept his gaze over everyone and said with a pale face, I called you here for a meeting, and you should know why. Who is Wang Tianba? He is one of the top tycoons in the business community of the entire province. It was only with great difficulty that our station was able to get an exclusive interview with him. Now that this has happened, it is definitely a major blow to our TV station. Director Wang put his hands on the conference table and asked sternly, tell me what to do. Who will give me an explanation? There was silence in the conference room. Just then, a thought occurred to Jiang Yu. He could take this opportunity to ruin Jiang Yurong. Perhaps, he could even make her the laughingstock of the TV station. Director, Jiang Yurong has the interview data on Shenyuan Group in her hands, and she said that she can definitely save the TV station. Jiang Yu sneered. Everyone's eyes immediately fell on Jiang Yurong, but she panicked. It was true that she had a USB drive in her hand, but Yi Xian had been joking. How could she have brought something like this out? She glanced at Jiang Yu, who was sneering, clearly intending to make her look like a fool. What should she do? Did she really want to become the laughingstock of the station? Director Wang stared at Jiang Yurong and said excitedly, Yurong, quickly take out the interview information. If it's real, I'll promote you to director immediately. Jiang Yurong was dumbfounded. She didn't expect the station manager to be so generous. According to the normal promotion route, it would take her at least 10 years to become a director. But she didn't have any interview materials, she only had a broken USB drive. Yurong, I know you were wronged in this interview, but this is the only chance to save the TV station. Please. Seeing that she was taking her time, station manager Wang really lost his temper. Jiang Yurong clutched the USB drive, her tears almost falling. Just as Jiang Yurong was lost in thought, Director Wang took the USB drive directly, and a video immediately appeared on the screen. There was an instant silence in the meeting room. Everyone's eyes were on the big screen. Director Wang and several senior executives' eyes gradually became excited. Because the screen really showed the image of Wang Tianba. This was the first time that this business tycoon in the province had given an interview to the media, and it was an exclusive interview. What surprised everyone even more was that the image also showed the back of a thin young man. Although it is impossible to see his face, Wang Tianba introduces him as the mysterious chairman of Shenyuan Group. A true legend of the Yunhai business world. At this moment, everyone is dumbfounded. Holy shit, is this for real? The identity of the chairman of Shenyuan Group is so mysterious, he has never appeared in public before. This is the first time. Jiang Yu's face is pale, he can't believe it, he covers his mouth and murmurs, no way, this is impossible. How could she have an exclusive interview video? This video must be fake. At this moment, the person who was most shocked was Jiang Yurong. At this moment, she was in a daze. Is this real? The USB drive Yi Xian gave me is actually real? How is this possible? Director Wang's eyes were filled with excitement as he said, I can even get an exclusive interview with the chairman of Shenyuan Group. If we release this video, our TV station will become famous. Due to his excitement, Director Wang's face turned red, and he almost yelled out in excitement. Jiang Yurong, you did a fantastic job. I knew I didn't make a mistake in choosing you. From now on, you'll be the head of the TV department. Jiang Yurong's mind flashed back to Yi Xian's figure, and when she thought about the doubts she had about Yi Xian today, she wanted to slap herself. Why did she doubt Yi Xian? But where did Yi Xian get this USB drive? At this moment, Jiang Yurong's mind was in a complete mess, so much so that she was about to go crazy. The next second, everyone's eyes suddenly went dark. The USB drive had suddenly broken. Director Wang hurriedly asked, Jiang, what happened? Before Jiang Yurong could say anything, someone pointed at Jiang Yu and said, Director, just before you arrived, Jiang Yu snatched the USB drive from Jiang Yurong and stomped on it. If you hadn't arrived in time, I'm afraid the USB drive would have been destroyed. Upon hearing this, everyone looked at Jiang Yu at the same time. Everyone's eyes were full of anger. This is about the survival of the TV station. How dare this bastard stomp on it and ruin it? Damn it, you want to die. Chapter 25, A Pretty Girl in a Golden House. Director Wang glared at Jiang Yu with clenched teeth and said angrily, Jiang Yu, do you want to get us all killed? You are fired from the TV station. Get out of the meeting room. And if anything goes wrong with this interview, the TV station will hold you responsible. You'd better hope that the USB drive can still be repaired. Jiang Yu was terrified and quickly begged for forgiveness. Director Wang, I really didn't mean it. I was just joking with Jiang Yurong. Yurong, please say something for me. I know I was wrong this time, I will never do it again. Really, I swear. Jiang Yu nervously looked at Jiang Yurong. Jiang Yurong didn't even turn around and said, Director Wang told you to get lost, didn't you hear? Jiang Yu swallowed hard and finally begged. Director, can you do it for the sake of my father? I'm already giving your father face by just firing you. Director Wang finished speaking and turned to leave. Seeing the director leave, several senior executives and colleagues from the TV station couldn't hold back anymore. This bastard almost ruined the TV station. Some even walked over and pointed at Jiang Yu and cursed at him. Idiot. I've been unhappy with you for a long time. If you get the TV station into trouble, I'll be the first to get you. Get out of here. You're waiting to get beaten up. In despair, Jiang Yu covered his head with his hands and ran out of the meeting room like he was running for his life. In the afternoon, Yi Xian had just returned to the courtyard when he suddenly felt a pair of eyes staring at him furtively from behind. Jiang Yurong, have you fallen in love with me? Yi Xian turned around and squinted at the beautiful woman in the OL uniform behind him. Of course not. How could I, an exquisite young lady, possibly look at a little brother like you? Jiang Yurong put her hands around her waist and raised her pointed chin. I like mature men, like the mysterious chairman of Shenyuan Group. Yi Xian's mouth curled up in an upward arc. Go ahead, what do you want from me? Jiang Yurong embarrassedly tousled her hair and told him about the damaged USB flash drive. She thought Yi Xian would also have a headache, but what she didn't expect was that Yi Xian agreed very casually, as if it were a trivial matter. She pursed her lips and forced herself to hold back the pile of questions she wanted to ask Yi Xian. She was becoming more and more curious about Yi Xian's identity, and felt that this ordinary young man must be hiding some kind of secret. Today, she asked her friend at the police station to check Yi Xian's identity. Information, but after a long time, she found that although Yi Xian's information was not encrypted, it was a blank, as if he had never existed in this world. She still didn't believe in evil, and asked a friend with higher permissions to help investigate, but the result was the same. This completely surprised her, as this was the first time she had encountered such a thing. Yi Xian had left no information in the world except for a name and age, everything was empty. In the modern information society, this was absolutely impossible. What's more, Yi Xian at least had a grandfather, right, so why was even the relative information empty? It wasn't long before there was a knock on the courtyard gate. Who is it? Jiang Yurong opened the door, and to her surprise, there was a beautiful woman outside the door whose appearance and figure were not at all inferior to her own. Long, black, shiny hair, a green, form-fitting cheongsam that accentuated her figure, making her look even taller and sexier, with a curvy body and a delicate, perfect face that could easily outshine many actresses. But she didn't remember knowing the other person. Wang Meen, who was standing outside the door, looked at Jiang Yurong and was also puzzled. She remembered her uncle saying that this was clearly where Mr. Yi lived. She took a look at Jiang Yurong's figure and felt a sense of loss. There are such beautiful women in Yun province? Is Yi Xiao also inside? A treasure in a golden house? Who are you looking for? Jiang Yurong asked with a frown. I've come to deliver something to Yi Xiao. Wang Meen spoke indifferently, and then asked, do you live with Yi Xiao? Yi Xiao? Yi Xian? Jiang Yurong subconsciously nodded. Wang Meen's face immediately changed, as if she had understood something in an instant, and her heart felt a little empty. As a woman, Jiang Yurong immediately understood what had happened when she saw the former's change in expression. For some reason, she felt a hint of hostility and deliberately did not explain the earlier remark. At this moment, Yi Xian happened to walk over and, seeing the two women glaring at each other, coughed. What's going on? Someone's here to see you. Jiang Yurong deliberately sneered. Yi Xiao, my name is Wang Meen. Wang Meen quickly dismissed the thoughts in her mind, bowed slightly, and smiled, saying, because this thing is too valuable, my uncle is more worried, so he asked me to deliver it in person. I apologize for being rude. Yi Xian took the USB drive and said, I'm sorry about this. I'll treat you to dinner tonight. I'll send your uncle the address. Wang Meen gave a slight smile, then looked meaningfully at Jiang Yurong before turning and leaving. After Wang Meen left, Jiang Yurong walked up to Yi Xian with a sneer and asked in a gossipy tone, "Who was that beauty? She called you Yi Xiao over and over again. I saw her staring at me like I was her rival in love. Is she having an affair with you?" Yi Xian shrugged and explained, the uncle she was referring to was Wang Tianba, the president of Shenyuan Group. She is Wang Tianba's niece. Thanks to her help, I was able to have the interview, and it was the first time I met her. Jiang Yurong looked at Yi Xian in surprise. She never would have guessed that Wang Tianba had personally given him the USB drive for the interview. He had even sent his niece to deliver it in person. What was going on? Jiang Yurong suddenly thought of something and tentatively asked, "I haven't eaten tonight, so why don't I go with you?" "You?" Yi Xian surveyed her. "Do you think I'm not as pretty as her?" Jiang Yurong deliberately puffed out her chest. Yi Xian found it hard to resist and could only nod in agreement. Not far away. In a Bentley. Wang Meen got into the car angrily and slammed the door. Wang Tianba, seeing his niece return, hurriedly asked, "Meen, have you met Yi Xiao?" Wang Meen snorted, "I have, he's hiding a beauty in his golden house." Wang Tianba was taken aback, then immediately reacted, smiling and saying, "Did you see another woman in the house?" Wang Meen leaned back on the sofa, crossed her long, snow-white legs, and said somewhat unhappily, "I thought Yi Xiao was a gentleman, but I never imagined that he would like a woman with a sexy figure and a domineering air. That's too vulgar. But then again, that woman's appearance and figure are actually not inferior to mine, so it's no wonder that Mr. Yi couldn't resist." The more she thought about it, the more angry she became, and she scolded, "Uncle, he already has a woman, so don't let me get in touch with this Yi Xiao." Upon hearing this, Wang Tianba suddenly laughed and patted his niece's shoulder. "Hey, I was wondering what was going on. Meen, let me tell you, this is a great thing." "How is this a good thing?" Wang Meen looked puzzled and couldn't figure it out. Chapter 26. Who is Yi Xiao? This is really great news. Wang Tianba, a business magnate, has this kind of experience in the underworld, and he said with a smile, "The fact that there is such a beautiful woman by his side shows that Yi Xiao also has emotions. This is a good opportunity for us. As long as you take the initiative, Mr. Yi will definitely be unable to resist. Besides, you have no idea how powerful Yi Xiao is. Needless to say, just Yunhai City, even the entire Yin province, in his eyes, is nothing. The scenery in his eyes will not be limited to this. For such a big shot, the women around him in the future will definitely not be lacking. Not to mention 3 or 5, even 10 is not considered too many." Wang Meen heard what her uncle said and her brows furrowed slightly, but after thinking about it carefully, he was right. Since ancient times, which powerful man has not had women around him? Women are just decorations for powerful men. Even my uncle, as the president of Shenyuan Group, has many women on the side. Not to mention Yi Xiao, who is even more powerful according to my uncle." Wang Meen was deeply conflicted. At this time, Wang Tianba received a message from Yi Xian, the address of which was a barbecue restaurant. Little Dongbei Barbecue? Why haven't I heard of this place? Wang Tianba was a little confused. He had been in Yunhai City for decades, and he knew basically all the famous restaurants. "I'll look it up." Wang Meen took out her phone and couldn't help but frown. "Found it, not far from here, but..." "But what?" "But it seems to be a fly restaurant. Not very well known in the University Snack Street. 50 yuan per capita? University Snack Street? A fly restaurant? Per capita consumption of 50? Wang Tianba couldn't help but freeze for a moment. They had been going to high-end places for years, and it was not uncommon for a meal to cost tens of thousands of dollars. Now Yi Xian actually invited them to a fly restaurant? If someone else did this, Wang Tianba would have smashed the table long ago. But for Yi Xian, he was not angry at all, and there was even a hint of smugness. "Yi Xiao is treating us like family. Hurry up and drive. You go back and change into something more seductive." On the other side, Yi Xian waited outside Jiang Yurong's room, impatiently. He had spent an hour getting dressed. The door opened, and Jiang Yurong walked out with a proud look on her face. She was wearing a white short skirt, white knee-high stockings, and a pair of stiletto heels that she rarely wore. "Yurong, are you going on a blind date dressed like that?" Yi Xian asked, his eyes wide. This was the first time he had seen Jiang Yurong wear such exquisite makeup and dress so sexy. In fact, Jiang Yurong was conflicted. On the one hand, she had some fantasies about Yi Xian, but on the other hand, she had to act reserved. Her figure and appearance were similar to Wang Miaoyin's, except that she had dressed in a gentler white color, not wanting to be overshadowed by Wang Miaoyin. However, she also had an advantage. Even though her makeup was not as exquisite as Wang Miaoyin's, her bust was more mature. The name Yurong was not called for nothing. It was a crowded weekend evening. The taxi pulled up next to the university snack street. The two had just got out when a black car suddenly sped past. If Yi Xian hadn't been quick enough to pull him back, the car would have almost grazed Jiang Yurong. "Can't you drive?" Jiang Yurong exclaimed angrily. The car door opened and Jiang Yu got out with a middle-aged man. Jiang Yu also noticed Jiang Yurong. The humiliation at the TV station today was unforgettable. In front of dozens of colleagues, he was swept out of the door. He lost his job. He lost his status. The image he had built up over the years was instantly ruined. It was all the fault of that bitch Jiang Yurong. He would never swallow his anger and would make that bitch pay. "Cousin, see that slut in white silk? She's the one I told you about who slept with the college student. Shit, I know her. The guy next to her is Yi Xian." Jiang Yu's cousin is Xiao Pang, and he recognized Yi Xian at once. This bastard pretends to be an outstanding student in front of the principal, but lets a female reporter wear white silk when he walks out of school. In fact, he can't understand why the principal is helping this kid now. He has checked, and this kid has no background at all. Xiao Pang snorted coldly, "What a narrow road, let's go and meet them." In a moment, Jiang Yu walked up to Jiang Yurong, looked at him and sneered, "Hey, isn't this reporter Jiang? Why are you dressed like this? Anyone who doesn't know would think you're a streetwalker." Xiao Pang also said with a sigh, "Yi, I didn't think I'd run into you here, did I?" "You." Jiang Yurong didn't want to waste time with these two people, grabbed Yi Xian and walked towards the inside. "Yi Xian, don't waste your breath with these people, let's go eat." Yi Xian glanced at the two of them, didn't say anything, and continued walking with Jiang Yurong. Xiao Pang looked in the direction the two of them left, snorted, and said, "Going to eat on this shitty street? What a poor guy, actually taking a woman to eat at such a shitty place. It seems that I was overthinking it before, this kid really doesn't have any background. Let's go over and have a look, I know someone on this street, let's have some fun with them." University Snack Street, Showdown Bay Barbecue. On a Sunday evening, not many students go out to eat, and the restaurant is a little deserted. Just then, a Bentley slowly drives past the door. "This car is really luxurious, I've never seen one before." "Wow, it's really impressive, the life of the rich is really enviable," the barbecue chef says with a sigh of envy. Auntie Sun also looks at the Bentley with envy, and says with a sigh, "Wow, you won't be able to ride in a car like this when you're born, and you'll never be able to ride in one for the rest of your life. The gap between these big bosses and the likes of us at the bottom is so great. If you have the time, you might as well grill some more meat." However, the next second, the Bentley suddenly stopped. Auntie Sun and the staff were stunned. What's going on? Could it be that they're looking for them? "Mr. Wang, miss, we're here." The driver, Bao, respectfully opened the back door. Wang Tianba got out of the car, took a brief look at the barbecue restaurant, and smiled at Auntie Sun. "Can you reserve a private room for me?" Auntie Sun was completely flabbergasted. Even if she didn't know Wang Tianba, she could tell from his appearance and demeanor that he was definitely someone important. Several of the shop assistants were even more attracted by Wang Miaoyin. They had never imagined that Yunhai City would have such a beautiful woman, like a fairy from heaven. How could such a big boss possibly come to eat at their humble barbecue restaurant? They couldn't afford it. Auntie Sun asked, her hands rubbing together in trepidation. Wang Tianba glanced at the sign and was convinced, "Yes, this is the right restaurant. Yi Xiao introduced us here, and he said that you are a regular customer." "Yi Xiao? Regular customer?" Auntie Sun was even more confused. How would she know Yi Xiao? She is just a small fry who does barbecue at the university snack street, how could she know any young master? Suddenly, something came to mind in Auntie Sun's mind, and she exclaimed in surprise, "Could it be Yi Xian?" Chapter 27, The True Identity of Jiang Yurong. As soon as Auntie Sun spoke, she hurriedly covered her mouth. "No way, Yi Xiao is just a student, how could he be Yi Xiao?" Upon hearing the word Yi Xian, Wang Tianba nodded slightly and said, "Yes, Yi Xian is Yi Xiao." Wang Tianba's voice was not loud, but it sounded like thunder in Auntie Sun's head. Holy cow, is that really Yi Xiao? When did Yi Xiao become Yi Xiao? Is he out of his mind, inviting these rich people to eat at their restaurant? Even though she had a million questions in her heart, Auntie Sun still welcomed Wang Tianba and Wang Meen in with a smile. Don't mind the small size of our restaurant. Since you are friends of Xiaoya, I'll give you a large bottle of Coke for free. In a short while, Yi Xian and Jiang Yurong also walked out of the barbecue restaurant. At this time, a black car caught up from behind. Jiang Yurong turned her head and immediately flew into a rage. Are these two following us on purpose to cause trouble? You two, don't go too far. Jiang Yurong said coldly, or I'll call the police. Call the police? Go ahead. Call all you want. Jangu sneered, glanced at the road and said, where are we going is none of your business. Just because you came here to eat doesn't mean I can't? Where do you get the temper of a whore? Hearing the word whore, Yi Xian's face sank and he was about to go up. Jiang Yurong pulled Yi Xian and walked towards the barbecue restaurant. Yi Xian, ignore them. At this time, Xiao Pang came from the other side and was about to drag Jiang Yurong. Did I let you go? Ah. Before Xiao Pang could react, Yi Xian moved his finger, and an invisible air current rushed out, suddenly bursting the tires of the black car. Boom! Xiao Pang and Zhang Yu immediately lost their balance, and their bodies fell forward, falling in all directions. This scene startled the passers-by around them. Jiang Yurong also cast a surprised glance. It was just fine a moment ago, so why did the tire suddenly burst? Could it be that you did it? Jiang Yurong said in surprise. Yi Xian shrugged and gave a faint smile. Maybe because I'm so handsome, everyone loves me, and every car I see has a flat tire. Bah! After Yi Xian and Jiang Yurong entered the store, Zhang Yu and Xiao Pang staggered to their feet. Both of them had fallen over very awkwardly. Damn it, Yi Xian must have done it. Xiao Pang gritted his teeth. His tire had inexplicably burst just now, and Yi Xian must have been behind it. I'll call someone right now. Today, I'm going to screw him hard. Inside the Showdown Bay barbecue restaurant, Auntie Sun saw Yi Xian at a glance and hurried over to greet him. When she saw Jiang Yurong, she couldn't help but freeze. She didn't expect Yi Xian to bring another girl as beautiful as a fairy. Every time Yi Xian comes to the restaurant, he brings a different beautiful girl. First it was Su Kexin, then in Baiqing. Xiao Yi, you've finally come, what's going on tonight? Why did you invite a big boss to eat in my small restaurant? He's used to eating at 5-star hotels, will he think my restaurant is shabby? Auntie Sun was a little worried that the standard wasn't high enough and she would be rejected. Don't worry, there is no one in the whole of Yunhai city who can grill better than you. Yi Xian waved his hand with a smile and took the lead into the private room. The driver, Bao, stood outside the door and quickly opened it when he saw Yi Xian arrive. Seeing Yi Xian arrive, Wang Tianba hurriedly got up on his own initiative. Young Master Yi, I am truly honored that you can treat me to dinner. I will first toast you with 3 cups. Wang Tianba said, then poured 3 glasses of white wine and drank them all in one go, very hearty. Uncle, you should drink less, don't hurt your body, said Wang Meen. In fact, she didn't know Yi Xian's real identity, she only knew that her uncle highly respected Yi Xian, and now she was extremely surprised to see this scene. For so many years, other people have been toasting her uncle, but now it's the other way around. Yi Xian had just entered the door and Wang Tianba had already drunk 3 glasses of wine. Yi Xian is really showing off. Jiang Yurong was also very surprised. The president of the Grand Shenyuan group, Wang, actually took the initiative to toast a college student? And he drank 3 glasses in one go? Who would believe that if you told them? Jiang Yurong sat next to Yi Xian, and Wang Meen sat on the other side. For a moment, Yi Xian was surrounded by beautiful women. Jiang Yurong was dressed in a white short skirt, knee-high white stockings, and crystal stiletto heels, gentle and charming. Wang Meen was dressed in a short black skirt, black lace stockings, and black high heels with a red sole, looking hot and passionate. The ultimate in black, the ultimate in white, it's up to you to decide which one you like. Smelling the aroma emanating from the delicate bodies of the two beauties, Yi Xian couldn't help but swallow. Looking up, he saw Wang Tianba smiling at him innocently. Yi Xian smiled back. How could he not guess Wang Tianba's little scheme? Wang Tianba surveyed Jiang Yurong, sighed silently, and felt that Jiang Yurong was really lucky to be able to climb onto Yi Xiao, a dragon about to take off. When Yi Xiao really grows up, Jiang Yurong will definitely feel very lucky for choosing today. At first, he thought Jiang Yurong was really an ordinary reporter. After sending someone to investigate, he couldn't help but be a little surprised. It turned out that Jiang Yurong's identity was not simple either. Who would have thought that a small reporter from a TV station would be the daughter of the governor of Yun province? Your niece has to work hard. He looked at Wang Meen, gave her a wink, and laughed. Meen, you are about the same age as Yi Xiao and Miss Jiang. You can communicate more with them in the future and learn from them. Why don't you toast them? Wang Meen smiled slightly and raised her wineglass. I have opened an entertainment company in Yun City and am selecting new talent from the university to make their debut. If Yi Xiao has any suitable candidates, please keep an eye out for me. Jiang Yurong said lightly, college students should focus on their studies. It's not good to be too entertainment-oriented and utilitarian. Really? Wang Meen smiled and looked at Jiang Yurong. Jealousy exploded between the two women. Yixin continued to eat the kebabs as if no one was around, mumbling, this kebab tastes good, I'll eat it first if you don't want it. Meanwhile, Xiao Pang called 5 or 6 thugs he knew from before and, together with Jangu, rushed into the barbecue restaurant. Where's that brat Yixin? And where's that bitch? Tell them to get the fuck out here. Xiao Pang yelled as soon as he entered the door. Seeing someone coming in angrily, Sun hurriedly stepped forward to stop him. Don't be angry, let's talk about this. Sit down first, I'll get you some water. Xiao Pang pushed Sun away and said with disgust, fuck off, look at how dirty you are, who the fuck wants to drink your water? Sun looked embarrassed, took a step back, and said with some trepidation, I'll go get you a stool to sit on. Unexpectedly, she accidentally touched Zhang Yu's clothes, and Zhang Yu immediately cursed, old thing, are you deaf? Open your eyes and see what brand of suit this is. Can you afford to pay for the damage? A staff member from the nearby barbecue restaurant couldn't stand it anymore and angrily said, why do you curse people as soon as you walk in? Have you got any manners? Our work is a bit dirty, but the money we earn is clean. You are not welcome here. Before he could finish speaking, Zhang Yu and a few thugs had already rushed over and pinned the former to the ground. Xiao Pang didn't expect a stinking worker to dare to give him orders, and he was furious. I'll fucking say this for the last time, tell Yixin and Jiang Yurong to get the fuck out. Chapter 28, in the middle of the night. Wrong room. Seeing this, Sun hurriedly shouted, what are you doing? Xiao Yi and the big shot are talking inside. If you make trouble again, you will regret it. Upon hearing this, Xiao Pang and Jangu glanced at each other and then laughed. This is hilarious, where would there be any big shots in this shitty hotel? Xiao Pang stamped on a chair, lit a cigarette, and exhaled a puff of smoke. Don't try to scare me. I'm telling you, in a shitty place like this, I'm the big shot. Charge in. Get Yixin and Jiang Yurong for me. As soon as the words fell, Zhang Yu led a few thugs and kicked open the door to the private room, rushing in. The next second, Zhang Yu's gaze fell on Yixin, and then his face suddenly changed dramatically. Because he saw sitting next to him was precisely Wang Tianba, the president of Shenyuan Group. What's going on? Why is President Wang here? He could not believe that a big shot like Wang Tianba would be eating at such a fly restaurant. This is fucking impossible. Wang Tianba's face showed some anger, and he glared at Leopard beside him and said coldly, damn it. How dare you disturb Yi Xiao while he is eating? Do you want to die? Leopard, get rid of these people who don't know when they're dead. As soon as he finished speaking, a figure in a suit rushed out and kicked Xiao Pang. Before the latter could react, his body flew backwards like a kite with a broken string, and he fell heavily to the ground. Zhang Yu was terrified and turned his head to run. A bow grabbed his head and slammed him against the wall. Boom, boom, boom. The white wall was bloodied by the impact. Zhang Yu was thrown to the ground like a dead dog. Seeing this, the other thugs Xiao Pang called were so scared that they dropped the iron rods in their hands and stood trembling on the side, not daring to even fart. Xiao Pang was also too scared to speak, his face full of surprise. He knew that a big shot like Wang Tianba was not someone he could offend. In Yunhai City or even the entire Yun province, it would be too easy for Wang Tianba to make someone disappear. He was afraid of death. He had no choice but to admit defeat. Even if he wants revenge, he can only wait until Wang Tianba is gone and seek revenge on Yixin alone. Sun was also shocked and pale. She never expected things to turn around so quickly. She stared at Yixin in shock. Her heart was in turmoil. Who exactly is Yixin? Every time she comes to dinner, she brings a pretty female companion, and why does even the big boss have to please her? Previously, when she warned Xiao Pang and Jiang Yurong not to offend the big shots, it was just bluster, because she didn't believe that the big shots would do anything for Yixian. But now her words had come true. After dealing with the troublemakers, the meal was almost over. Jiang Yurong volunteered to pay the bill as a way to thank Yixian and Wang Tianba for their help. In the private room. Young Yi, should I get rid of those two people? Wang Tianba asked. If Yixian says the word, he will use his connections to make sure those two are finished for good. Yixian rubbed his full stomach and narrowed his eyes. Punishing them a little for their petty actions will be enough to teach them a lesson. Wang Meen frowned, not sure what Yixian meant by his actions. Could it be that Yixian, who looks so scholarly, can also fight with a sword and a spear? On the contrary, Wang Tianba's face was filled with a solemn expression. Night. Jiang Yurong lay in bed, unable to sleep at all. Everything that had happened today was churning wildly in her mind, and she found that she didn't know the guy at all. At first, she thought Yixian was just an ordinary college student. A bit lecherous, and knew a bit of kung fu. And stingy. All kinds of behavior made Jiang Yurong have no good impression of him. But then, she realized that she was wrong. Big mistake. Yixian has time and again overturned her perception. This guy easily dealt with the threat from the Longhu group. Even the CEO of Shenyuan group had to curry favor with him. She felt that the secrets Yixian held were beyond imagination. However, everyone has secrets, and the secrets she holds are no small matter either. Just then, a phone ringing woke her up. Director Jiang, there's been a murder at Miss Bar. Should our TV station rush over? Of course. I'll be right there. Jiang Yurong changed her clothes and hurried out the door. Miss Bar was not far from here, and by the time she arrived, there were already quite a few people gathered at the scene. Her colleagues from the TV station had already arrived. Jiang Yurong took her microphone and walked into the bloody bar with the cameraman. She was just about to broadcast live when she saw the two bodies on the ground. As a frontline reporter, she had been involved in many murder scene reports. But when she saw the faces of the two bodies clearly, she froze, her mind went blank, and she subconsciously took a few steps back, covering her mouth tightly as her delicate body trembled violently. At this moment, no one knew how Jiang Yurong felt. Because the people lying on the ground were Xiao Pang and Jangu. The two living people she had just seen that night had now become two cold corpses. Jiang Yurong's body was covered in goosebumps. Moreover, she saw their eyes bulging, as if they had seen something extremely terrifying. What did these two people see before they died? At this time, the police officer on the side muttered to himself in puzzlement, judging from the evidence at the scene, these two people killed each other, and this way of dying is too strange. But this is the evidence. Two people killed each other? Aren't they cousins and are they very close? How is this possible? The cause of death of these two people becomes more and more strange the more you think about it. Why did Jangu and Xiao Pang happen to die tonight? Jiang Yurong was plunged into an unprecedented state of contemplation. Suddenly, her pupils dilated. She thought of an unbelievable possibility. Without further thought, Jiang Yurong immediately handed over her work to her colleagues and hurried home. She had to find out. Otherwise, she wouldn't be at peace. In no time, Jiang Yurong rushed back to the courtyard. She tiptoed to the outside of Yixian's room. Yixian, are you asleep? After she said that, the room fell into a long silence. After waiting for a long time, Jiang Yurong finally couldn't help it anymore and tried to turn the doorknob. To her surprise, the door was not locked. Jiang Yurong became even more nervous and tiptoed into Yixian's room. It was so dark at night that she couldn't see what was in the room, so she could only grope her way to the bed and then extend a jade hand and gently probe the bed. On the bed, there was a thick quilt. She took a deep breath and reached under the quilt with her delicate hands. The next second, her hand was burned by something. Ah! A woman's scream echoed through the courtyard. Chapter 29. The school beauty is waiting for someone. This dream is quite real, and the feel is so good. Yixian was sleeping when he suddenly felt something sneak in. He thought it was a dream, so he took advantage of the situation. Ah! A scream resounded through the courtyard. When Kexin arrived, she saw Yixian, who was wrapped in the quilt, and Jiang Yurong, who was blushing and afraid to look up as if she had done something bad. Kexin blinked. What just happened? Yixian said helplessly, I was dreaming about that, but when I opened my eyes, it turned out to be Jiang Yurong. What a pity, it was almost. Stop it. Jiang Yurong was sorting out her messy clothes, her face red with embarrassment. Hearing these words like a bolt from the blue, and looking at Yi Xian, who looked full of regret, and Jiang Yurong, who looked as if she had done something wrong and was afraid to look directly at anyone, Gu Xini was shocked at first and opened her beautiful eyes wide, then asked with full curiosity, "Tell me the truth, what's going on? Describe the details in detail." "This kind of thing? You still want to hear the details? It was a misunderstanding. I swear. I really did go to the wrong room." Jiang Yurong blushed, feeling as if she was being scrutinized by Gu Xini, like she was being vetted by her future mother-in-law. It was so embarrassing. She just wanted to see if Yi Xian was there. However, not only was Yi Xian there, he was sound asleep. It so happened that the young man was dreaming, and it was the kind of dream. She was lucky to have screamed so loudly, otherwise Yi Xian would have taken her for a dream. And Yi Xian, on the other hand, looked so sad. As if he couldn't wait to do her. She was very mad. Could Gu Xini possibly think she was a woman who was very promiscuous? Because this was already the second time she had entered Yi Xian's room in the middle of the night. "You guys don't have that?" Gu Xini stared at Jiang Yurong and said meaningfully, "Do you need me to buy you some medicine?" "Ha? No, no." Jiang Yurong blushed and shook her head like a rattle. "No? Oh. It seems you have done a good job with your safety measures." Gu Xini nodded thoughtfully. "Ah, not really." Jiang Yurong was about to cry. She was already feeling guilty about being a thief, and now she couldn't explain any further. "Big-breasted sister, if there is a next time, I will definitely get you." Yi Xian sneered. "Oomph, it's not certain who will get who. Just wait and see." Jiang Yurong left the room with a red face. Yi Xian gave a meaningful smile as he watched Jiang Yurong's peachy buttocks wiggle. With such a perfect figure, he might just be able to fulfill his wish of starting a football team. It would be a serious waste not to exploit Jiang Yurong's figure. In a moment, Gu Xini brought a bowl of chicken soup to Yi Xian. Yi Xian was stunned as he looked at Gu Xini, who was wearing a white lace nightgown that revealed her curves, sitting by the bed. "Why did she make me chicken soup? Didn't you just have intense exercise?" Yi Xian was speechless. It was Jiang Yurong who screamed in fear first, otherwise he would definitely execute Jiang Yurong on the spot. "Let's see if she dares to crawl into the quilt again in the future. Come over here and drink the chicken soup," Gu Xini said while blowing on the chicken soup with her red lips. "I sleep without clothes on." Gu Xini glanced over and covered her mouth with a light laugh. "Oh, now you know how to be modest? Which brat were you before, who had to sneak into my bed to sleep? And you wet the bed." Yi Xian was unable to say a word. "What are you embarrassed about? Have I not seen it all before? I know every hair on your body." Gu Xini placed the chicken soup on the table and surveyed Yi Xian with a look of relief. The look in her eyes was like praising her pig, which had finally learned to eat cabbage. After drinking the chicken soup, Yi Xian slept very soundly that night. It wasn't because he had solved the problems with Xiao Pang and Jangu, but because this weekend, he had been surrounded by beautiful women and had a comfortable and enjoyable time. If this kind of life could go on forever, it would be great. The next day, Yi Xian got up with bleary eyes. What he didn't expect was that Jiang Yurong had already eaten breakfast and, as if deliberately avoiding him, hurried out the door to go to work. After eating the breakfast made by Gu Xini, Yi Xian rode his little electric car and hummed a tune as he went to school. "Why isn't classmate Yi Xian here yet?" Su Kexin had taken her seat early, but after waiting for a long time, she still hadn't seen Yi Xian appear. At that moment, a handsome, tall boy came over, pointed to the empty seat next to her, and flashed a self-assured smile. "Kexin, can I sit here?" "Class president, I'm sorry, this seat is taken," Su Kexin said, and then ignored Jiang Wei, continuing to look towards the classroom door. Jiang Wei frowned, and a flash of displeasure crossed his face. Jiang Wei is the class monitor, his family owns some local businesses, he has a certain status in society, and he is considered a rich second generation in university. Since his student days, he has never lacked the company of beautiful women. Although he often shows his affection for Su Kexin, she never takes the initiative to talk to him, which makes Jiang Wei, who is never short of attention from women, feel a little uncomfortable. At this time, other students also noticed something was wrong with Su Kexin, especially the boys, who usually pay close attention to the school beauty's every move. Today is strange. Su Kexin is even holding a seat for someone else. Does she have a new best friend? I don't think she's holding the seat for a girl. She's waiting for a guy. Huh? How is that possible? Our school beauty has a boyfriend? No way. The school beauty doesn't even like a rich and handsome guy like Sun Jie. Jiang Wei's face grew increasingly ugly when he heard these comments. Previously, because of Sun Jie, he didn't dare to pursue Su Kexin. After the news of the playground incident spread a few days ago, he knew that Sun Jie and Su Kexin had completely broken up, and he also moved to pursue the school flower. Such a beautiful and pure woman, which man wouldn't be tempted? Now it seems that the school flower already has a man in her heart, and Jiang Wei is even more jealous and angry. I want to see who the school flower is waiting for. Jiang Wei stared at Su Kexin, his thoughts surging wildly in his head, when he suddenly thought of the new transfer student Yixian. But then he shook his head in self-derision. How could it be? Yixian, the poor guy who rode an electric bicycle, had no reason to capture the school flower's heart. In Jiang Wei's opinion, if you want to woo a girl, you need to be handsome and rich. Although Yixian had made a splash at school during his conflict with Sun Jie, what good had it done? The women who rode in his electric car just wanted a new and exciting experience. Once the novelty wore off, they would dump him. What woman would prefer riding in an electric car to a luxury car? How can a bumpkin compare to a rich and handsome guy like him? How? Not only Jiang Wei, but also the boys in the whole class didn't think that Su Kexin was waiting for Yixian. After all, the gap between the two was too big. Everyone held their breath. Yes, the footsteps must be a boy's. Everyone's attention fell on Su Kexin at once. The crowd silently watched the school beauty's every move. Just as everyone held their breath and became nervous, Su Kexin's eyes looking towards the door suddenly lit up, the dark clouds between her eyebrows disappeared, and she raised her long-lost smile on her cheeks, almost standing up to go meet him. Everyone's faces changed, and their gazes all turned to the classroom door. A boy in casual clothes walked in through the door. It was him? Chapter 30, Going to your place tonight. What? The person the school flower has been waiting for is Yixian? The boys in the class suddenly felt their hearts being torn apart. What is it about this brat on a small electric bicycle that has captured the school flower's heart? Jealous glances fell on Yixian, and many boys were itching to go over and teach him a lesson. It's been a few months since the beginning of the school year, and the crowd hasn't even had the chance to say a few words to Su Kexin. This kid has only been here for a few days, and the school flower is already distracted over him. This is outrageous. As soon as he entered the door, Yixian completely ignored the jealous stares and walked straight towards Su Kexin, who was smiling. He sat down lazily next to her and reached out. Where are the snacks I asked for? I've bought you the beef with mushrooms, the spicy noodles and the Oreos. Su Kexin took out a pile of snacks from her bag and looked at Yixian proudly. Damn it! This shameless guy. He actually told the school beauty to buy him snacks. Chao Nima's really shameless. Su Kexin didn't notice the reactions of the people around her at all, her attention was focused on Yixian. She was relieved to see that Yixian was fine. I was so scared, I thought you couldn't come to school because Sun Jie was taking revenge. Why would anything happen to me? The handsome knight still has to protect his princess. Yixian winked at Su Kexin in a very mushy way. If someone else had said such mushy things, Su Kexin would have been disgusted, but since it was Yixian, she blushed and became shy. So why did you just come now? I was worried sick. Su Kexin complained. Yixian's heart warmed, but he deliberately said, Oh, Kexin, you're so worried about me, do you like me? If someone else had said that, Su Kexin would definitely have been angry. But when it came to Yixian, she couldn't get angry, and she just gave Yixian a cold look and took out a notebook. The final exam is coming up soon, and these are the notes I've taken for you, they have all the key points, so remember to read them. You're so nice, Kexin. Yixian accepted the notes with a warm feeling in his heart. When Jiang Wei saw this scene, his face twisted into a distorted expression. What exactly was this guy's talent that made the school flower care about him so much? What makes him so special? What is it about Jiang Wei that is inferior to this poor kid? Jiang Wei sneered, Oh, the learning committee member cares so much about his classmates. But the final exam is coming up soon, and no matter how hard a transfer student studies, it's never enough. Yixian turned around and thought for a moment before remembering that this guy was the monitor. Monitor, what are you trying to say? Yixian narrowed his eyes. Yixian, you've only been to class for a few days, and you have no hope of passing the final exam. If you fail too many subjects, you'll be advised to quit school. Zhang Wei pretended to look concerned. Yi Xian sneered inwardly, but pretended to be nervous on the surface. What can I do? Monitor, you have to help me. Zhang Wei smiled proudly and whispered, between you and me, my father is friends with Director Zhao of the Teaching Affairs Office. If I say the word, I can help you change your final exam score easily. Upon hearing this, Yi Xian almost couldn't help laughing. Could it be that Director Zhao of the Teaching Affairs Office, as mentioned by Zhang Wei, is none other than the dead and beyond dead Xiao Pang? Yi Xian pretended to look grateful. Class President, I am so grateful to you. How can I repay you? Zhang Wei smiled proudly. Yi Xian took the bait. That's easy. If you stay away from Su Kexin in the future, I'll help you change your grades. After saying this, Zhang Wei looked at Yi Xian confidently. This kind of tempting condition was something Yi Xian simply could not refuse, and he was also unable to refuse. However, Yi Xian's reply caught him off guard. Yi Xian stood up and shouted at the students in the classroom, everyone, thank the monitor. The monitor said that he knows the director of teaching and can help the whole class change their grades. With such a good monitor, our class has become rich. In an instant, the eyes of the entire class fell on Zhang Wei. Class President, don't worry, we'll never tell. Thanks a lot. You're practically a second parent to our class. Facing the burning gaze of the entire class, Zhang Wei wanted to rush over and kill Yi Xian. How could he possibly help the entire class change their grades? Are you kidding me? This is deliberately setting him on fire. Zhang Wei coughed twice hastily and laughed awkwardly. I was just joking with Yi Xian. Don't take it seriously. How could the test scores be changed? Ha ha. The students in the class cast disdainful glances at him one after the other. Zhang Wei shrunk his head and gave Yi Xian a sinister glare. You brat, just wait until you fail the course and get expelled. I'll fail the course? You don't really think I'm a bad student, do you? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and sneered. Why don't we make a bet? Yi Xian deliberately raised his voice, and the surrounding classmates all heard it, and their gazes turned to the two of them. Bet with me? What can you bet with me? Zhang Wei smiled contemptuously, looking arrogant and cocky, because in terms of strength in any area, he could easily beat up this poor kid. Yi Xian laughed and said, how about we compare final exam scores? Upon hearing this, the surrounding classmates first looked stunned, and then they burst out laughing together. This kid is crazy, right? He has only been in class for a few days, and he dares to compare his exam results with the monitor's? And he doesn't even know that the monitor has interned at a gold medal law firm, does he? What an arrogant idiot. Zhang Wei smiled proudly, tousled his hair, and said disdainfully, to be honest, this bet is pointless, because you can't win. Tell me, what do you want to bet? Su Kexin was anxious on the sidelines, and tugged Yi Xian, saying, you mustn't bet with him, he's very good at his studies. You can't win. I can't win? Yi Xian sneered inwardly. The school flower is still too simple. Does she really think he is an easy target? Yi Xian said calmly, it's very simple. If you win, I'll drop out of school and never appear again. If I win, you'll call me Grandpa. Okay, it's a deal. Zhang Wei shouted, as if he was afraid that Yi Xian would change his mind. Yi Xian, why are you so impulsive? You've only been to class for a few days. Alas! What should I do? If you lose, you won't be able to go to school. Oh dear, I have to think of a way. Su Kexin muttered to herself, and Yi Xian realized that the aloof school beauty could be so chatty. But Su Kexin was concerned about him, and even if she was chatty, it made him feel warm inside. The more he looked at the chatty little beauty, the cuter he found her. Zhang Wei was so pleased with himself. Poor boys are easy to deal with, and a little trickery is all it takes. However, the next second, Su Kexin's words made Zhang Wei and the other boys instantly petrify. I've got an idea. Starting tonight, I'll go to your house every night to help you with your studies.